Sure.
All right, we are live with session. What is this? 3? Session 3 of Curse of
92.
Strahd. Session 92, and they're still second level. These guys cannot get their shit together.
Because someone keeps stealing our levels. Howie.
Perfect.
However, I'm at level 100.
Yes. Right. She is a god. You guys just don't know it yet. So last time we played, the party had successfully made it to the village of Barovia, but not without encountering another pack of wolves. Oh my gosh, I think there's an earthquake at John's house. John will join us
I
momentarily.
tried to get Carol because she was about to drink. I was trying to get her to do a spit take for us, but she caught herself.
Oh, perfect. This is going to be a great session. I can already tell. So
Oh, that's gonna be horrible.
they basically were able to avoid a pack of wolves that were hot on their tail, but with some ingenuitive play by the characters, they're able to avoid this new threat because having survived already an attack by a pack of large wolves, many were suffering still from that. But you made it to the village of Barovia sometime in the early evening, and as you wandered through the abandoned streets, the village looked next to deserted, if not for the fact that every once in a while you would see maybe a curtain or a shutter pulled aside a bit, and they would give away the light that was beyond. But other than that, you saw nothing. The party was drawn to the sounds of someone's wailing, and that's when they met Mary, who's John with the beard. Mary, who had lamented the loss of her daughter, someone she had hidden away, so that she would avoid the being seen by Strahd. But her biggest fears came true when her daughter ran away, and has been missing for at least a week. I can't remember how long I said it was.
DM,
Yes.
can I interpose something that you forgot? There was a portion where George kicked in the door into a poor person's house. And
Oh, that
threw
was
some coins-
that was a part that was supposed to be
coins on
edited
the
out of the
ground and
last.
left.
That was supposed to be edited out of the last.
Oh, I'm
video.
sorry. Whoops, sorry.
Charlie paid me good money to edit that out, but I forgot.
That was one of the best scenes ever. Oh.
There was that. I forgot.
Here's 2 gold coins, lady. I'm out of here.
I had totally forgotten that he had knocked on the door and then kicked it in.
Yeah, he didn't even wait. He just kicked that shit in. He's like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. George is here.
Much to the chagrin of that poor family and that woman's children.
Yeah, your description of the little girl clutching at her mom in horror. Yeah, it was great.
Yes.
Perfect.
Hey, they got paid well for that.
Yeah,
That
they
is
did.
true. 2 gold is quite a hefty sum. Yeah, so the party, at least I think 3 of the party was Zadara. I can't remember who was upstairs and spoke with Mary.
Oh, I know 2 people that went up there.
Yeah.
Zarg and Renard.
Yeah, Zargan Renard, and I think Vernak was in the doorway.
Yes,
with
Vernak was watching.
Yeah, and so from that they learned quite a bit from Mary, and I almost called her Sarah.
Mad Mary.
Mad Mary, Sad Mary.
So Callista's awfully quiet over there,
Yeah.
and I can't figure out why.
So she allowed you.
Because I'm trying to figure out video settings.
Let me finish the damn recap, players. See, this is what happens when you don't play every week. Is a lot of catch up to do. But yeah, so Mary was able to be convinced by Zarg and Renard because they're so charismatic. They were able to at least soothe her enough and promise to return her daughter to her. And in return, Mary allowed the party to sleep within her home for the evening, and they were able to get a good rest in. I think, yeah, I remember now too. George made himself very comfortable downstairs.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't
Started
think she allowed us.
stripping off all of his clothes, started just spreading it all out everywhere.
They had
Yeah,
a fire going, cooking dinner.
Yeah. So
Remember, Zadara kept doing the camera thing. What? You
Yeah.
guys want some food?
yes, sticking his head out of the door. And I think there was also a scene too where Zadara confronted a woman that had come out of one of the other homes, making her way to the well, and basically frightened this poor old woman so much so that she dropped the pail that she had, and after fleeing for her life, after giving some little tidbit of information to Zadara, ran back to her home. So the night passed, and
I think Callie was just keeping her head down.
yeah, Callie was playing it, keeping it on the down low, trying to be helpful to her companions, because she knows the storm is coming, and I think she's probably trying to lessen that storm as much as she can. But we'll see. We'll see how the Zarg and Callie drama unfolds in today's session, if at all. And so yeah, you guys awaken. Well rested, and I was going to say well fed, but you are in Barovia, so the meal is hearty in the sense that it meets your body's need for nourishment, but not so. Oh wait, I forgot, we got Renard, Master Chef, so he probably added a little bit of seasonings and whatnot to the meal, so it made the gruel a little bit more tasty.
Spice gruel is so much better than gruel.
Yeah, sprinkle a little bit of magic honey on it or something. No one wants to ask where he gets the magic honey.
Nope.
So so when we ended last session, you guys had prepared yourself. The town has begun to awaken, and I think Callie had started off back to the main thoroughfare, to the main square of the village, as last session ended.
Yeah. I just want to add that Zarg and Renard prayed for Talos at the well, and then Zarg gave Renard the paper.
Yes, that's right. And Renard. So right now, Zarg and Renard are the only ones that know what that letter that Zarg had found says. They did not share it with anybody else within the party.
Yeah, and Renard has the paper. I didn't take it back. He has it.
Perfect.
I have the Blinksy doll, though.
Yes.
George
It's no fun. It's no Blinsky.
He's no Blinksy.
Yes, the very disturbing doll of Mad Mary's daughter. Extra points. I'll give inspiration to anybody if they can name what Mad Mary's daughter's name is.
I already have 3 inspiration points, though.
That's because you need to use them, Renard.
I know, but
You probably
I know the name.
The problem
I
is
know the
I know the name and I have 3.
Well, someone could share an inspiration point, and then they could afford to.
I want inspiration on my attack versus Callie, and then her name was Gertrude.
Yes.
To replace
Gertruda.
that one.
Gertruda.
Gertruda. That's right. I called her Gertrude.
Yeah, Gertrude. I would be short for Gertruda. Yeah. So,
So you're gonna give him inspiration on his attack? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, to their creep DM.
I'm sorry.
The best
I
DM ever.
have slipped into the skin of Strahd von Sladovich, and he is not a kind creature at all. So the morning is gray and dreary. Even though it's still damp from the rain from the day before, but you see this village slowly starting to come awake. You see these drab, gray, clothed folks kind of coming out of their domiciles and starting their day. When they see you, however, you see many of them skitter away. 1 or 2 doors close just as quickly as they had opened, as you guys are making your way slowly down this thoroughfare. What I would like to do is move you back to the village map. And I have there a marker that you guys can use to navigate this village of Barovia. And so feel free. I don't care which one of you is determined the one that is the marker mover.
I'll nominate Zog.
Zarg!
Zog.
I was going to nominate Renard, but that's fine. All right. Zarg is in charge. Let me grab this marker. How come I can't move it?
Oh, let me make sure you have permission.
Look, if I'm going to move it, I
know. You need permission.
I need permission.
Don't give Zarg permission.
Let's get over to the well. Our whole group. Callie, everybody. Specifically, Callie.
I'm fucking sane. Nothing to do with him.
Callie's not going anywhere near the well.
Like freaking nuts.
Right, I have to... Right. Quickly, somebody tell me, how do I give a token permission to somebody?
Right-click
click
on
on it, and the cog. I think it's the cog, yeah.
You're a cog, Renard.
Oh my gosh.
That should just be, like, give control or something like that.
I have the ability to allow you to see it.
There should be, like, 3 options.
Try now. Does that work? Oh, you know what I need to do? What I need to do is I need to make it...
What's up, buddy? Ah, Kitty is here. That's it, buddy. Give me
They're
inspiration.
required, right?
Yeah, inspiration.
All
Give me
right.
Thinking inspiration.
I don't
Try-
need your butt in my face, buddy.
Try that now, John.
I can't see.
My name is Zarg.
Zarg. Try that now, Zarg.
Talos has not blessed me, my friend. It does not work.
Still doesn't work?
No.
Hmm.
Can you just move us to the inn? Because
Yeah.
that is where Zarg is going.
Okay, you're heading that way.
Mhm,
All right. So you get to there.
Virnak, grab the body, my friend.
Oh, that's right. You still have the body. That's right. Still carrying this body.
We got this dead.
Vernak will grab the body in like a hasting type motion, like he's hurrying to pick it up
Yeah.
over his shoulder.
So you guys are making your way through this square central courtyard of this village, and you see
Oh, you can't lay on the keyboard.
above a gaping doorway a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this to be the Blood on the Vine Tavern.
Ooh.
As you look closer, though, Zarg, you can see that an N has been scratched over with the F. So it was a blood on the vine, but now it's the blood of the vine.
Oh.
And inside you, it's near quiet.
No noise is coming from it?
Yeah, very little. The door is open, however.
I reach up and point towards the sign and say, Renard, someone is a poet. They've corrected the sign. And I will try to open the door.
It's open. You could just
I-
walk right into this main tap room.
I mean, I walk in and everybody knows that I have just entered.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably heard your voice before. As you walk in, you see just 4 individuals here. This one man is cleaning cups behind this makeshift bar. It's just a couple of casks turned over with a large, sturdy board laying across them. He kind of looks at you as you enter and then gives you a slow nod. And you see 3 very colorfully clad Vistani women sitting at a table together near the doorway. They as well look at you as you walk in.
I turn towards the Vistani women and smile and say, well met. Did I see you at the last party of the Vistani? Did we not dance together?
They share a glance amongst themselves, and one of them kind of stands and says, "I do not think we have met before, stranger, but it seems as though you have spent some time amongst my people."
Well, one night. But you know what they say? One night with the Vistani is one night total. And nothing. That's what he says.
She smiles awkwardly, looks back at the other two women seated at the table, and she turns back to you and gives you an easy smile. She says, "I am Alinka. Welcome to the blood of the vine." And she says, "Please, find a seat. You break your fast with us."
We have already eaten, but I have something you may want.
What-
Biernack.
Yes. Thank you. I was just about to
While that
transition.
conversation's going,
What are
as
the
soon as
rest
he
of you
says-
doing as Zard kind of stomps his way into
As-
the common room?
As soon as Vernak hears him say, "Find a seat," Vernak, along with holding the body in the other hand, he has a chair and he has like this happy face on, like he accomplished a task, and he's holding a chair, like waving around near them because he found a seat.
And
I'm
you have this body resting across your shoulders. There is kind of like this little noise from the short pudgy gentleman behind the bar when you walk in carrying the body. George?
I'm gonna go up to the bar. I'm gonna order the biggest mug of ale that they have, and a block of cheese.
Okay. So you walk up, and it's just as that little pudgy man's going, George, and it probably you probably hear like another one when he sees your just your big form walk up. Callie and Renard.
Callie would be the last one to enter, and she will have been like just sort of looking around at everything before she goes in to see if there's anything behind them that might be a threat before she goes in to deal with whatever's going on in the inn.
As before you do that, Callie, you feel a tug at your your sleeve of your tunic. It's Zadara. She leans in close to you. She says, "I do not like the feel of this place. I will look around. I will meet you guys later." And she dips out.
Callie nods, and then she feels comfortable enough to go into the inn. She kind of steps through the door and then maybe steps to one side a little and just looks around to take in whatever's going on.
Yeah, it's dimly lit. There are candles kind of sitting on holders that are mounted to the wall. You can see where the smoke from like tallow candles that burn rather dark kind of just have stained it. But it takes a moment for your eyes to adjust. And you see Zarg. I imagine, Nard, you're fairly close to Zarg as he comes in.
Renard would be waiting by the bar, sort of just until George has got his beer and cheese. He's going to wait to ask a question.
Okay. The little pudgy man says, "Oh, we don't have any ale. We have some wine. It's watered down. We haven't." And then he realizes, he looks on your face, George, and he sees that you really don't care for the explanation. And you see him goes over to a small little vat, and he pours out a cup, and he puts it on with a wedge of cheese.
How small of a vat?
It's probably like 25 gallon.
Oh, never mind then. I was gonna tell him just to hand me the vat, but if it's 25, that might be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
All right, so when he brings me over the watered down wine and the cheese, George is gonna pull out Pilfert and let Pilfert have some food.
Yeah. Yeah. So he gives you the wedge of cheese. the woman, as your companions come in, you see her. She kind of weighing each of them, Zarg, and she goes, "Are they with you?"
Zark turns, looks over his shoulder. Why, yes, that is Renard, servant of Talos. My friend Virnak carrying the dead man. My friend George and his brother Pilfer.
One of the darker-haired women at the table, she points towards Vernak and says, "Does that one always carry dead bodies along with him?"
No, that one is one of yours. We found him on the road on our way here. He had been murdered. But don't worry, we grabbed his body. We killed some wolves.
Alinka says, "Truly murdered?"
Well, unless he fell down, dead. I don't know.
She says, "You there," and she's talking to you, Vernak. She says, "Place him on this table here," and she directs you to a table nearby.
His name is Veranak, just so you know.
Vernak walks over to the table and not so gently, because she didn't really say be gentle with the body, and just kind of plops the body on the table.
Yeah.
Thud is made.
It hits the table, and she and her two companions go over and immediately start to undo the ropes that were tied about him. And I think it was you wrapped him in a blanket, I think.
Yeah,
so she
a whole fucking bedroll.
Yes. They pull back the blanket, and when they see the face, they all look at one another, and the one that had not spoken yet whispers to the darker-haired one. And then Alinka turns to you. She goes, "You're right. Here's one of the men of the village. Where did you find him?"
On the road?
The road to the... And you see her, she's to the west, the east?
Renard, which direction did we come from, my friend? We were
Eh,
walking, and there was a mist. I do not remember.
The road from the east of town.
Yep. Renard knows. He's very smart.
You found him that far from the village.
And then in the woods. Yeah.
And you see them. You see the other two women as Alinka is talking to you. Are kind of just looking at him. And then the one that had the darker-haired one that had spoken says, "You said he was murdered. I do not see a cut or a knife wound on him. He looks as though he was savaged by wolves or something."
Sure. Wolves can murder people.
You see this kind of look on her face that's probably very similar to the reaction that I just had to that, which is she's doubtful that wolves can murder people. Killed him for certain, but murder.
Isn't it possible perhaps he was murdered and the wolves ate him after? Or perhaps the crows, the raven creatures. There were dozens of them all over the place.
When you mention the ravens, the one that has not spoken yet, her hair is a little bit more of like a sandy blonde, and she kind of just spits onto the floor. Ravens, those accursed creatures.
Yes. Accursed.
She looks at you and gives an approving little nod, but says no more. She says, then Alinka says, troubled journeys you have had. Here, sit. Eric, get them all a drink on the house. And Eric, who you would notice once he got your drink, George, he immediately goes back to cleaning the same glasses. And you notice that once he's done, there's a moment's pause, and then he starts cleaning them all again. And he so he like counts you all out, and you see him. He pours out a glass of wine for you all. And once you're settled, Alinka asks, "Have you been long here in the Valley of Barovia?"
Zog looks at the wine. He's staring at it, and he kind of just pushes it away. No, 1 day perhaps. I think. Renard, has it been 1 day?
Yeah, it's just been a day.
Renard would know. He is very smart. Did I say?
I believe you did. And she goes, "Oh, where are my manners? I am Alinka, and these are my sisters." And she introduces her sisters to you. The dark-haired one. Holy moly! I just lost my spot with the names. The dark-haired one is Sorvia, and Mirabelle is the dusky-haired.
Mm-hmm.
And they just nod. And she says, "And you are Zarg. I knew this because you made it very clear as you came into
Of course.
the inn."
I make it important to introduce my friends and people, so you would
And
know.
this, and she points to Vernak. She goes, "This one here is Vernak."
Viranak, yes.
And if I am not mistaken, this one here is Renard. And she points to Renard because you address people by their names all the time.
Yep, I'm the smart one.
Yes.
Everyone knows who he is. He is very smart and very attractive.
Yes. And then she looks to you, George, and you notice that Sorvia is kind of just drawn to the fact that you have this little mouse that's kind of walking along on the table in front of you, and you're feeding him little bits of cheese. And every once in a while he goes over and you dribble a little bit of the wine for him. And she goes to you, goes, "Is that your pet, that little one there?"
This is my brother, Pilfer.
Oh, and she gets down really close, like on the edge of the table, much, and you can't see this if you're listening to this game, but so her head is almost at eye level, and she goes, "Oh, perfect. You are a precious little one." And she reaches over with her finger, and Pilfer bites it, and she pulls it back. She sucks her finger. "Ooh, he has quite the temper. I like him even more now," she says as she stands up, and she's sucking on her finger. Pilfer looks at you and he goes, "I do not like that one, brother."
She's pretty.
He looks back, his nose kind of twitches, and he goes, "Yes, but still, I do something about her I do not like." And
Pretty.
he jams. You see him takes his little hands and he jams a piece of cheese in there. And we have not had Callista. Was not introduced. She's kind of hanging out more closer to the door. "And you there?
Yes,
You are."
I am Callista. I am with him also.
Are you a dusk elf?
More of a wood elf.
She kind of frowns a bit at that. She goes, "Wood elf?
Yes.
Well, I guess there are other kinds. I have only in my life ever seen a dusk elf."
George is gonna look at her and say, "She's smelly elf."
Callista rolls her eyes.
This coming to the guy that rubs bear
Right,
lard on
right.
his armor to keep it from
She
rusting.
kind of looks at him. I smell of the forest. You smell of, well,
You smell a forest full of cow manure.
Callista, please join your companions. Sit.
yes. Thank you.
Let me welcome you to the village of Barovia. She kind of pulls it. You hear the scrape of a chair as she pulls a chair over to the table you're sitting at. Now table is off a little bit from where the dead body is. The dusky-haired sister is still looking over the corpse, where the darker haired one is really just kind of looking at not really you, Zarg, or Renard, but your companions. And of course, Eric, the pudgy little bartender, is back to cleaning the cups. She pulls a chair over. She sits down. She says, "You'll find the people here in this village are not as welcoming as my sisters and I. But I'm curious. You say that you have met Vistandi here in the valley." And she's not directing it just to you, Zarg. I mean, she is in an off way, but she doesn't say it by name. She just kind of looks at you, but then she looks at the others, leaving the question open-ended.
We met a band of your peoples outside the valley on our way in.
Had you seen a mist when you met them?
I had a bit to drink, but I don't think so.
She totally does not understand what that comment means, and she kind of like her brow kind of furrows for a second, and she says, "We are travelers, many. My sister and I, as you could say, we are different. We have settled here in this village. We help to run this establishment."
So, tell me, do you know the people of this village quite well?
She kind of leans back as the kind of the creaking of the wood of the chair, and she kind of has this what is it? Like this smile kind of creases her face. She says, "I know them all well enough." You know, like almost like in this pompous manner.
So tell me, where can I find the one named Irina?
She kind of, you hear that thump as all four legs of her chair kind of hit the floor. She was leaning back a bit. She goes, "Why do you need to find her?"
Well, she's a pretty lady.
Give me an insight roll. Definitely you, Renard. Zarg, you definitely, because you're pretty, not much gets past Zarg. But anyone else that is watching this.
My insightful. Yes, I am.
I love that the two Goliaths are literally like oblivious. You definitely see it set. It's very subtle. So Vernak and George and even Pilfert don't pick up on this. But there is definitely a shift, almost like a coldness in her countenance once you mention that. It is not wise to pry into affairs that don't concern you, stranger. She is the Burgermeister's daughter.
Oops, sorry.
She looks at you. Like, did I miss a joke somehow here?
Sorry.
Did I say something?
That makes me laugh.
Did that? Oh, it's the actual burger.
I don't know why. That makes me.
So does it make Zargs laugh, or does it make
It does,
John
because
laugh?
it's making me laugh, so it makes Zarg laugh too.
Okay.
Who knows what he's
She
laughing
looks at you and she says, "Did I say something funny, Zarg?"
No.
She
you
doesn't
just-
say Zarg. She just says, "Did I say something funny?"
No. No. Nothing funny here. Can I look over at Harry? I mean, at Renard, and go like this. Go.
Yeah. It's very obvious that you do that. Considering you're sitting.
I wasn't trying to hide it.
Yeah. So
I lost what I was about to say then. I think I just said.
we need to make John shut his camera off. Is what we need to do.
That'll help.
I think Renard would just say, yes. I'll take your advice, and yeah, we won't go and we won't find her out.
Sure you will.
We're not here to find her anyways. We're here to find that dude in the castle. What's his name? Strahd.
Zog, you just like elbow him.
The Vistani over by the dead man turns and looks at you. But not before she exchanges a look with Alinka. And Alinka says, "You have heard of the Lord of the Valley, then?"
Of course. Doesn't everyone know of him? He's the Lord of the Valley.
People that live here do, but you say you are fairly new. You seem to be well informed for just coming here to the valley. Mm-hmm. What is your, and she pauses for a second, intention here?
I am Zarg of Talos.
That means nothing to me. I don't, what is this Talos? Is this where you are from?
You don't know Talos?
The look on her face clearly says she does not.
The Stormlord?
There's
He who brings lightning to a fist fight? No? None of this makes any sense to you?
Yeah, you look at her face.
Well, if you come and sit by me, I shall tell you a story of Talos.
Okay.
Drink of the holy
So
water,
Zarg,
and we could become one.
Zarg breaks into.
Rolls her eyes.
Zarg breaks into starting to share
Evangelize.
some stories of Talos from the good book of Talos.
Of course I am. Yeah.
And Bernac, the dark-haired one, Sorvia, comes up and she touches your face and your head. She says, "You are a big one. I have not seen so many men as big as you, but you and this one there." And she points, and you see that she, like, her personal space is like near zero. Like she's like right into your personal space without getting any of those like permissions. And she points. Well, she doesn't point, but she looks over at George where he's sitting, and she goes, "I've only ever seen a man as big as you, and he works in the store. But." And I so you guys are, oh my gosh. Your skin, is it fairly human colored? Does it have a fleshy tone, or does it have more of a stone gray?
Yeah, it's kind of like mine's kind of like a light grayish color. The guy that says gray.
Yeah. So she says, and she feels your skin, and she says, "It is warm." She says, as she smiles warmly up at you, or actually, if you're sitting down, smiles warmly at you, Vernac. She says, "At first I thought maybe you and your friend might not be alive with your skin as gray as it is."
Vernac not dead. Vernac is Vernac.
Clearly. She goes, "Curious, I wonder who would be stronger, you or your friend or Perry?"
Vernac.
And so Zarg, you're just wrapping up sharing one of your tales of the greatness of what is Talos, and Linka kind of yawns a bit. She goes, I have no interest in hearing about this Talos. I have
not this Talos, lady. The Talos.
She shrugs. She says, "If you say so."
I do.
And she would, I think, get up from her seat at that point, and she would say, "Enjoy your wine, and a little bit of advice I will give to you all for free too. Do not meddle or pry too much in affairs that are not yours. Others that have come here that have done similar things, they have met untimely ends.
Luckily, we are on a quest, right, Bernard? We belong here.
Oh my gosh, Zarg needs a keeper so bad. And she looks at you, Renard, and it's a look of daggers as she looks at you.
Just
Sorry, Renard.
smiles awkwardly back. A look of just like, oh, for God's sake. Dog just spilling all the beans right there and then.
Yeah. Vernak, oh my gosh, I'm totally spacing on her names. Sofia leans into you and whispers really close to your ear. She goes, "Oh, you are on a quest.
I didn't hear that.
You are on a quest?" She whispers in your ear. And then she puts a gentle hand on your lap, just above your knee.
Yeah, she does.
Right.
Vernak grabs her hand and removes it and goes, Vernak don't know. Vernak said, ask Zard. Like shove it in the direction of Zard.
How
goes,
far away is Vernak from me?
I would say that you guys are all sitting at this large table together. She's kind of situated herself between you and Vernak. And when Vernak says that and moves her hand, it's just very quickly, maybe Zarg at the corner of your eye, you might notice that quick look of disdain as she moves her hand as Vernak moves her hand from his lap. And she turns immediately to you, George.
George is gonna look at her and say, "No worry, he not there anyways. He not all there."
Oh, I don't know that you necessarily saw her put it. That was very subtle. You could have to give me a perception roll to see if you saw her put her hand onto Vernak's lap.
That's worth a shot.
Yeah. Yes, you definitely saw it, and yes, you definitely just said what you said. And she goes, "Truly? Whatever could you mean?" And she looks back over at Vernak. Maybe she's thinking like intelligence-wise.
Just Vernak not all there.
So you are on the quest too, then?
To kill wolves.
Wolves. There are many here in the village of in the valley of Barovia. She leans in close to you and she kind of looks at the other two Vistani women, and she says it quietly so that only you would hear, or meant for only you to hear, George. And she goes, "They say the wolves, they are agents of Strahd." Roll of thunder. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to roll the thunder every time somebody says Strahd. That would get really old.
Well, that's perfectly fine because Carlos is telling me what to do every time you say Strahd.
Yes.
You are directing me in the right direction.
Yes. Little does Zarg know, Strahd is the embodiment of Talos.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Then he shall have a new servant that is very powerful.
George, no, but totally off track on that. But no, she says, she whispers that warning to you, George. It probably rings a little bit truer to you because you think of your encounter when you first encountered Callie, and you were savaged by wolves. You and your companion Vernak.
So I would hear George say like, "Run a quest for wolves," right?
Yeah.
With that, I think Renard would sort of down the rest of his wine and then say, "Come, friends, finish your drinks. We have many wolves to kill." Sort of look at everybody, trying to get them to sort of hurry up a bit.
Yeah,
Can you?
Kelly kind of slobbers down her wine, drips it down her face, wipes it with her sleeve.
Yes.
Like, oh,
I love it. Give me. Are you? It seems like that's a deception roll, Renard. Like I believe George believes it, so that's no roll needed. But it seems like yours is a deception roll.
Oh, yeah.
You would see Alinka look at you as you say that, and she's definitely weighing your words and the reaction of your companions.
Oh, okay.
Just too bad you don't have any inspiration you could use, huh, Renard?
I do. I could use one of them. Let's do that.
Guy
Don't
holds
do it
on
for
to him
crap.
like they're gold.
Oh,
Yeah.
not much better.
Yeah, so you say that, and she's already risen to her feet at around this time, and she says, she looks you over. How prepared do you all look to her for travel, for the road?
I imagine we've got all our gear with us.
Yeah, you definitely have haversacks, and you have
Yeah, we probably would have like propped it up near the door or something.
yeah, bed rolls and those sorts of things. You probably have
Yeah.
heavy cloaks that you would use that we probably would treat to help repel most rain. You were gonna say
Callie,
something?
on the other hand, is not as well prepared.
No, Callie is not. Callie looks like someone that literally just walked out of her house with maybe like a light cloak or something on. But yeah, she has nothing in the way of traveling gear.
Probably has like maybe a water skin or something stuff she would carry around town though, not
Yeah,
packing, backpacking traveling gear.
not to give too much away, but I'm thinking Callie probably carries almost all of her worldly possessions with her at most times anyways, so
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Like as in everything she's got.
probably because she didn't trust too many people. If I leave it behind, someone will steal it, because that's what I would do. Right, Zarg?
Well, she just doesn't have
No,
enough.
she would do that.
She doesn't have enough stuff to leave anything behind anyway.
So,
What?
Alinka looks at you all and she says, well, if you plan to travel here in the valley, you will want to get heavier gear. Fall and winter is coming. Well, fall is upon. I guess fall is here, and then winter is coming. She says.
Yeah, I mean winter is coming. Tonight at 8.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest, Callie.
Hopefully for the last time, right?
Yeah, it'll be the last time, please.
So she returns back to the table that she was originally sitting at, and you notice there were what you didn't probably see before or didn't give much thought to before was there several loose sheets of paper there. She immediately goes to looking at that. Mirabelle joins her, and no, wait, Mirabelle was the one. Oh wait, Mirabelle was the one still looking at the body. So she's the last to join her. And they have a few hushed words or talk quietly amongst themselves. What are you all doing?
Well, Renard had said to get up, so Zarg is looking at him. He doesn't quite understand what he's
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. So
But he
Renard would
gets
be
up.
getting up. Yeah.
And then he heads over to where the body is. Not delicate at all. He yanks out his bedroll because he's not leaving that. That's like
Yeah,
gross.
the body rolls and falls unceremoniously to the floor.
When it hits the ground, I walk around. I pull a flask out of my inventory, and then I say a quick prayer to Talos and dump my holy water across the entire body. Now
Very
you are
nice.
consecrated, my friend.
As you do so, Zarg, the water pours from the flask, and as it hits the body, it turns blood red and soaks across this corpse.
Renard! Renard! Look! It's red.
Renard, you look and you see that he has poured water across this body.
What is it, Zarg?
Oh,
You just
shit.
pour water on the guy.
No, that was holy water, Mike. That was given to us by Talos. Did you not see the blood?
No.
You
You mean blood?
Have you served Talos completely, Renard?
I'm not sure what that means. I did the prayer thing. Is there more?
Who's jamming?
Banging beats.
Sorry.
Charlie with the sorry.
We forgot Charlie shaved, so he's out there grooving. Yeah, yeah, get that music going.
That's right, his camera's off right now. He's dancing for his old lady.
Poor Brian. Like, thanks.
He's like, I'm here to play D&D, guys. What are you guys talking about? Cut it out. As you look back down, Zarg, as you point to it, you see that it is just water that is across this corpse.
I immediately like whip my head back and stare at at Renard, like, holy shit, did you see that? And I'm like, Renard, I may have drank something I should not have. Perhaps you wish to guide us to our next destination.
Yeah, the door outside. Come on.
Yes, the door.
Just quickly, like, turn. Sorry, yeah, you can.
No. But as we pass the three women, I'm going to be like, you may keep the body.
I'd like to point out during this whole time, Vernak is still wondering what to do with the chair that he was told to find.
Yes.
He's still holding it.
Vernak
He
is
was
sitting
never told to do
down. Vernak is sitting down and holding another chair in his hand. I love it.
He was hitting out of the whole time. He's like,
That's crazy. You hear a voice behind you, Vernak. It's one of the women. You're not sure which one. And they say, you're going to have to leave that chair. You can't take it with you.
It's okay, Vernak. You can leave the chair.
That's great.
Vernak's a little bit confused on why he was told to find it then, and he kind of puts it down and then starts scratching his head as he's following the rest of you.
It's all right, Vernak. Just come along.
Vernak is all proud of himself because he like found that chair right off. He's like, that was easy. That was probably one of the easiest things I've had to do.
I'm really good at finding things.
Don't worry, guys. I can lead you.
Anarch is in charge. Chairs for everyone.
You guys step back out into the gray morning. And again, like I said, to say that the town is alive would be really overstating it. You see a few people milling about. And again, they do what, it's kind of like one of those cross the street, if there were sidewalks. It's kind of like avoid you guys as much as possible.
You're not saying anything that isn't normal for Zarg, so.
Right. Well, maybe actually, now as I think about this group, it looks like a normal time walking through a village.
Yeah, we're a pretty crazy group. I'm not sure. I mean, Callie's the only one who, Renard, I guess. Callie and Renard are the only ones who look somewhat normal.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely get a lot of looks.
And even Callie's like not, yeah.
Vernak, George, and Vernak and George definitely get like looks. It's very obvious to you, Zarg. You see people look, and there's whispers as they see these large Goliaths.
DM, just so you know, as we're walking around, I am looking for anyone who is a holy priest of any sect that I might recognize, or anyone who looks like they're of a religious belief, because this town sorely needs some sort of guidance, and whoever's doing it isn't doing it well enough for Zarg's point of view. So he's stern talking to. And Renard, I could put Renard in charge. He's much better. He's smart.
Yeah.
We'd be able to see that once we left the tavern. We'd be able to see that church-looking place just by looking up the road, right?
Yep. As you guys stepped right to here, you would definitely be able to see that at the end of the road is a church of some sort.
Renard.
Yeah.
If we're going to be battling vampires, we need some sort of holy stuff, as we spoke to before. Perhaps that church will have something that we need.
Well, you're the priest. Let's go check it out.
No, we are the priests, my friend. You have been
I'm a
anointed
priest
by Talos.
in training. In training.
Right, but training is doing, and doing is what we are doing. Come.
Yeah. So you start to make your way along this thoroughfare leading.
So, I think as we were walking, Renard would be sort of quietly talking to those around, basically saying like, "Do not trust those Vistani. You see how they got when we asked of Irina and spoke of Strahd."
That'll be the Young Frankenstein game.
Yeah.
If they say tell us to stay away from this Irina woman, we should probably go find her instead.
Now you are thinking, Renard. We can find the Irina, and we can find this Zarg and strike him down. Put evil in its place, as it were. Swift like a lightning bolt.
While they're talking, could Callista do a insight roll to try to determine whether she should be believing the first Vistani that they're looking for Irina, or the ones they were just talking to?
Well, you could do one to see for the ones you were just talking to.
Okay.
So what are you trying to discern?
Trying
Whether
to determine if we should follow their advice to stay away from, Strahd, or whether we should follow the advice of the first people, which said, look for Irina, or stay away from Irina. Excuse me, not Strahd.
Oh, the first one didn't say to stay away from Irina.
No, the first one said go find her, but the second people that said, oh, stay away from Irina. I want to know if that's a good idea or not.
Oh, okay. So you're looking for little subtle cues as to when they're saying to stay away from Irina.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were told to
So
mind
obviously.
Well, obviously they were trying to help you out by saying just leave her alone, man. You don't know, but you don't understand why. So you still, I think you can be curious as to like what did they mean by that, but as to what they mean by it, I think it's just beyond Callista at this point.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think is it the first Vistani group said that the Vistani were like servants of Strahd? Was that? I think it was them. Or like they were like able to at least move freely or something.
Yes.
Like they were favored or something, right?
They were seeking. They had asked if you could go to the valley and free it of its curse. Their Lord Strahd and the valley itself of the curse.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that they said that they could pass through the mist. That the curse.
Yeah, which is
not...
why Renard's just like, yeah, do the opposite of whatever these Vistani say. But yeah, that's what he'd be talking about as we walked up to the church.
Okay. Yeah, so you're starting to make your way to the church, and as you do, you see this man. He's dressed still rather drab compared to a Vistani, but you would tell by the cut of his clothes that he probably has more wealth in this village than most of the other inhabitants. I don't even want to know what that.
That's me squishing Strahd, man. This is Strahd. And then I'm gonna go. And that's what he's gonna look like when I'm done.
What are you gonna do to him? I see.
I love it.
Sorry, I have too much time on my hands. So literally,
you have too much Strahd on your hands, man. This man, he has sandy blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and he has this dour look on his face, and he's walking along with purpose down the road towards you, and he hasn't seemed to have seen you yet.
Are you sure?
Kelly whispers to Renard, "Muzzle Zarg."
I'm fairly certain that he hasn't seen you, because, and what leads you to believe that is that he does not seem to alter his path to avoid you, to pass as far from you as possible.
Is he wearing the drab clothing that the others
are? It is not as drab. It's fine cut. He wears like a waistcoat with a jacket, fine trousers, and you see these soft leather boots. They're a little bit worn, but still fine quality.
Renard, we should speak to this fine, sexy gentleman.
So yeah, Renard would speak up, sir, maybe we speak with you.
Yeah, as he's walking towards you, when you address him, Renard, that seems to start him out of whatever he's kind of is lost in thought. And his head snaps, and he looks, and he probably it looks as though he's recognizing you guys all for the first time, and he says, "Pardon?"
My name is Renard. We are
Of Talos.
of Talos. We've been meaning to ask somebody for directions, but you're one of the first people we've met. Can you tell us where the Burgomaster's house is?
You see a pained look cross his face when you mention that, and then that pained look quickly sours, and he says, and he looks across your group, and kind of tilts his head to look past you, Renard. I guess he wouldn't have to for the bigger guys.
Just look over the top of me.
Yeah, right. He goes, "Why do you need to find the Burgermeister?"
We have news for him.
Well, I am going there. You can give me the news. I will.
Oh no! Burgomaster's ears only, I'm afraid.
He kind of scoffs and he says, "Well, he won't hear you."
Oh, I'm pretty sure he'll hear us, and he just looks at Zark.
He shakes his head. He says, "No, he will not. I am Ismark. The Burgermeister is my father, and he is dead."
Oh.
Renard. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was not expecting to hear that news.
So you have news for my father. You can give it to me.
Are you the new burger?
Yes, I am the new Burgermaster.
How big is this guy?
He's about maybe 5'10", average build. He looks athletic. His hair, like I said, is about shoulder length. He looks worn. It's tough to pinpoint his age. You get a sense that anyone that has grown up and lived in the Valley of Barovia lives a hard life. So he's maybe his late 20s, early 30s.
I'm going to attempt to pick him up,
What?
intimidate him to see if he's telling us the truth.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah. So what do you do, George?
I'm going to grab him by the collar, pick him up, and try and intimidate him to see if he's telling us the truth.
Okay, you can give me an intimidation roll.
All right. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you push past Zarg and Renard and reach for this man, and actually, he very athletically swats your hand aside and steps back, and he says, "What are you trying to do, you large oaf?"
Ooh.
And you would notice that he does have a sword at his hip, but he's not wearing any armor. But his hand does make its way to the handle of his sword, the pommel.
Bernac does not like that the man just threatened his friend George, and he's going to go up to what's his name?
Ismark?
Yeah, he's gonna go to Ismark, and the hand that's getting close to the weapon, he's gonna grab it and kind of put enough of Vernac's strength into it that it hurts his hand, but not like really hurts.
Well, I think we're going to have to roll initiative, gentlemen, because he is clearly on his guard now. So when the other large man starts to make his way towards him, this guy's probably going to try to draw a sword and cut somebody in half. So let's roll initiative. Vernak.
The Goliath.
It's just a stunned look on Renard's face. He can't even act yet.
I know exactly what John's thinking, and he goes, "And this is how we die in the Curse of Strahd."
I turn to Renard and I'm like, and you thought that would be a problem?
Hey, I only put my hand on his hand to stop him from drawing the sword. You know, it's not that.
I want part of this initiative deal.
If we don't have tokens to click on, we.
Let me.
I don't think he was planning on us fighting in the middle of town like this. Not normal.
Just planning on speaking to the guy, not trying to kill him.
I wasn't trying to kill him, just trying to get him to.
Right. Let's just roll initiative now, just with initiative.
Sure, you're a professional DM. You can keep track of
we can,
5 numbers.
Yeah, we can do this fairly simple. So we got George with a 14. We have Renard with a 16, followed by Ismark with a 10. Oh, tied with you, Vernak. So, let me see. Let me grab his character sheet.
What'd you get close to that?
5.
You weren't expecting a fight either. All of a sudden, they start fighting.
No,
You're all like.
I was busy looking around the streets to see what else is going on and kind of keeping an eye on our backside.
What is your dex, Vernak?
Modifier is a 2.
Yeah, okay, so your dex is higher, so you do move a little bit quicker than Ismark. He's still looking at George, and you come at him from to grab his hand. So you can give me a attack roll.
Me?
Actually, Renard, you go. Actually, let's go with Renard because he.
Yeah, I would like to step in and try and stop this.
Yeah, so you would see George and Vernak moving towards this man. You see him reaching for his sword.
I think you just basically step up next to the man and just scream stop, what are you doing? George Vernak's just
okay.
The fuck?
Small man grab sword.
Yeah, George, you're up. So you step forward, you do that.
Alright, so I see him reaching for his sword.
You see him defensively reaching for his sword because a large Goliath just tried to grab him, yes.
Alright, I'm gonna try and grapple him.
Yep. So that's an attack roll.
My intention isn't to, hurt him. I just want to know if he's telling the truth. So,
I love the way Vernak and George parcel that out. Let's see how that plays out. So yeah, give me the attack roll to.
No.
It's just a simple intimidation.
Actually, I'm gonna use.
I was just gonna steal the item from his bag.
Yes, that's all he was gonna do.
I'm gonna use an inspiration and re-roll it.
Yeah, sure.
Just wondered what was on that piece of paper.
I don't know what paper you're talking about.
Yeah. No.
When you stuck in your
Yeah, I'm having a wicked delay on my
Yeah, same.
roll here.
I don't know if you know, Callie, but I ate the paper last time. It's gone.
Whatever. There might have been important information on it.
Yeah, you lunge at him, and he kind of dips out of the way, but kind of puts him in the path of Vernak. And you see the sword starting to come out of its sheath. Vernak, you're up.
Can I try and grab the sword and throw it in a direction where there's nobody? So it's
Do you have a sword?
no, the guy's sword.
Oh, well, do you have to make a roll for that, sir?
Yeah, that's would it be like a strength check or anything?
I think it would be a grapple, as a
Okay, so
to kind of grab the hand that's grabbing the sword.
that's plus my strength modifier.
Wouldn't it be a disarm?
Yeah. Well, that's probably what he's gonna do. All right.
You can sit down.
Yeah, you reach over and you latch your hand over onto his arm, and his eyes, his head immediately spins to you, and his teeth are kind of just clenched tight in a grimace, and he says, "So that's how it'll be," and it'll be his turn. He will try to break free of your grapple.
How'd you add your strength modifier to that, Brian?
I typed +3. It says 1d20 +3. Nah.
You can do it right off your character sheet too if you click on your.
No, that's true.
So
Click on athletics. Yeah.
So you need to make an opposed strength roll, Viranak, as he tries to pull his hand free of you.
I'm not gonna waste a rage.
Yeah, so he tugs and pulls, but you have an iron grip upon his arm just above the hand, stopping him from drawing this sword. He tugs furtively, and that would put us up to Zarg. Oh, and by the way, Renard, you see that these two Goliaths have not at all heard.
Just completely ignored
Just
me.
totally
Just
ignored
carried-
what you said.
Oh, Zarg leans against the wall, watching the fight.
Oh, as Zarg is watching, you just see several of these villagers, having seen what is happening, are both one running in fear, but you also see several coming out with crude implements like cudgels and pitchforks, and starting to slowly make their way, or actually fairly quickly making their way to this street.
Yeah. Zarg will move away from the group and point towards the Goliaths and say, "Get them!"
Yeah, they're totally oblivious to that. It's like they start running towards.
And I thought Callie
them.
was a jerk.
Yeah, Callie.
What has given you the thoughts that I was not a jerk?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Never at any point did I think you were not a jerk.
I am a servant of Talos. My job is to do what Talos decrees.
Callie, just as your turn is about to begin, and as this man is struggling against the stronger Goliath that holds him, he says, "Unhead me now, you oaf, and maybe you leave this village with your lives."
Hey.
And it's your turn, Callista.
So Callie calls out to Vernak and George. And she's like, "Vernak, George, that's no way to get answers to your questions. It's just going to make more trouble. Let him go." And then she's going to climb the side of the building next to her.
You start
Get
to
up. Yeah, just get up off the ground level, man.
Yeah. She knows
scamper
they're not
away.
going to listen. Yeah, she knows they're not going to listen.
Well,
So
listen or not,
Zarg-
she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, I don't really want to hear.
Yeah, so you got to give me a athletics climb, Callista.
Athletics or acrobatics?
Athletics climb.
Athletics climb.
Okay.
There you go. You scamper. You scamper quickly.
Hell yeah!
Yes, that is a nat 20 that Callista rolled.
She like runs up the side and like stands there.
Yeah.
She like parkour things where she like jumps off one thing, a barrel, and then she kicks.
That's acrobatics. But
No, it's all the
nonetheless,
spring and strength of your legs. And you land on this little roof that's like an overhang on the street. So you're perched up on top of that, probably
Yeah.
about 12
Would
feet up.
she have time after that to just get her bow ready in case it's needed?
Yeah, you could definitely swing your bow around, and you could like put the string, knock it. Perfect.
Okay.
Back to you, Renard. You see this man pulling away. or trying to pull away from Vernak.
So I think Renaud would step back and shout loudly, just "That's enough!" And then he will cast Witch Bolt on Vernak. You're not gonna listen.
Oh, this is awesome as you bring forth Talos' might. Yes, fools, listen to Renard.
Stop from swinging a sword. I wasn't hurting.
I'm gonna inspiration that. It's more like it.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I think we'll use the first damage. However, I don't think inspiration redoes the damage.
I'm joking.
I know. I just clicked the spell.
So describe for us, because this is the first time I think we've seen Witch Bolt.
Damage.
I don't think it's only 2 if we're taking the first one.
Yeah, it's 2 lightning damage.
Okay.
But I'd like to know I'd like you to describe for us what it looks like as this magic leaps forth from Renard into Vernak's
just
back.
this arc of a lightning sort of beginning in his eyes would just flow down his arm, sort of crackling around the outside, and then leaping from his fingertips onto Vernak and sort of beginning to channel its way through his body.
Yeah, so this lightning, as it leaps and bounces or carries along your body, Renard, is white hot, like one would see lightning. But as it gets to that the point where it discharges from you onto Vernak, it turns like this inky black, and it just lances out, striking Vernak in the back. You feel this, like all the hair on your arms. Wait, do Goliath have hair? Yeah, you have a beard, right? Your beard just like zargs out as this lightning strikes you. Perfect. George.
So does George see what Renard just did?
I am directly in front of you.
So. You're kind of a little bit behind them, Renard. I know we're not using a tactical map. I don't think we need to here. But
no, I mean, I stepped round to be sort of right next to this guy, and then stepped back, and then lightning.
Yeah. So, but it's a sustained arc. It's like Emperor lightning from Star Wars.
George is going to see Renard attacking his friend.
Oh, son of a bitch.
After shouting for him to stop.
Yeah.
But George just sees Renard attacking his friend. So George is going to rear up with his maul.
Yeah, you bring your maul up, George, and you feel this pinching bite on your earlobe as Pilfert goes, "What are you doing, brother?"
What has to be done?
And he says, "He told them to stop. Don't be a fool, like." And that's all he says as you you get them all up to its.
Like, can I just kill that mouse? Like later, like off camera.
You don't know that Pilfert's saying that to
Right.
George. He's talking in mouse speak.
Right.
Speak with animals.
So yeah, I'm gonna rear up my hammer and bring it down on Renard.
Oh Jesus! I'm sorry. That was. Come on, put your game face on, Strahd. Put your game face on. Yeah. So give us an attack.
That does not hit.
Aha!
I'm gonna use my last inspiration.
Not to be a total rules lawyer here, but you were already told that it was a miss, and then you decided to
fine.
use your
I
inspiration.
said that quite quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I would say it too quickly because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get splattered by that thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
it
this
missed
thing
me.
could kill me. Like, actually, like, outright just murder me. No, I'm fine with the rolling again.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna let him roll again, I'll use my inspiration to cancel his out. Because Talos is not gonna let him hurt his friend Renard.
I will use oh god.
Action search.
He's got an action shirts to murder a party member. I love it.
This is great.
I'm
Off in
beginning
the
to feel like I'm one of the nicer people in this group.
off in the distance, you almost hear this wicked laugh. It seems to
I
be
feel
coming,
it
coming
comes
from
to
that
Zog
castle
turn.
way up above.
Zog turns and casts a spell like Callista now. Because everybody's attacking everybody.
He's like, now's my chance.
All the villagers stop and back off because they're like, "Well, they're gonna kill each other. They're gonna do our work for us."
I'll take my missing as a sign and I'll stop. I'll stop with what I'm doing.
Yeah, you bring this hammer down and it just shatters some cobblestone where Renard was a second ago. He's not even really aware of it until the maul slams down next to him. He was just moving to as he's controlling this lightning that's arcing out across Vernac. Let me see. So then it is Vernac's turn.
All right.
You feel this lightning.
I kind of wish it was earlier because I was gonna do something in there anyways. He's gonna look at the Vistani that he's currently grabbing the arm to.
It's not a Vistani. He's not dressed like a Vistani.
It's a new Burgermeister.
The Burgermeister.
And he's gonna look him in the eyes, and it's not with anger because he's not raging or anything. And he's gonna say, "Vernac did not want to fight." And he's gonna let go because all he was trying to do was stop the sword from coming out.
So you're gonna hold the grapple.
No, he's gonna let go.
Okay, you let go of the grapple. The sword comes free. He grabs the pommel in both hands. And he's breathing heavy. And he says, "Put your weapons down."
We're gonna have my weapon out in the first place, but okay. I put my hands down on the ground.
Well, we got the elf that scampered up the wall and has a bow out, and we have a guy that just killed a poor cobblestone with his maul. So that would be his turn. He's going to hold an action. We'll go to Zarg.
Zarg begins to walk forward, heading towards the stand next to Renard, and then pats him on the shoulder. I will cast inflict wounds. No. I'm just kidding. I cast Shield of Faith on Renard as I say a prayer to Talos to protect him. Your AC is now 2 more higher. Woo.
Callista. You hear this man named Ismark yell out for you all to put your weapons down.
Callista just puts her bow back and puts her arrow back now. Things seem to be calming down. She doesn't really want to be part of a fight here at all. She wasn't even sure who she was going to shoot at. So she's perfectly happy to just put them away and sit on top of the roof watching.
Renard.
Seeing that Vernac has actually stopped, pulled back, I'm gonna just cancel out the spell.
Yeah, so the magic fades. The normal coloration of your eyes returns, and perfect. That brings us to, I believe it is George.
Just gonna pick up my maul and keep it in my hand. I'm not gonna put it down.
Oh, son of a bitch.
But I'm not gonna make any threatening gestures. But I'm gonna look at oh Jesus.
Ismark.
I don't think Jesus is here, buddy.
I'm gonna look at Harry's character and
Renard.
Renard.
I'm gonna look at Renard, and I'm gonna tell him, "You hurt friend, I will hurt you."
All right, perfect.
Totally gonna ignore the Burgomeister. Read his remark, John.
Vernac, you've let go of this man, and he uses that freedom to draw forth his sword. He's holding it before him in both hands. It's your turn.
It's my turn. He has his sword out. He's not putting it anywhere close away.
No, he's giving you guys the command to put your weapons down.
I'm going to the best of our Vernak's capabilities, persuade him to put his sword away by saying Vernak did no harm. Vernak didn't want.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have you roll, Vernak, because that is not gonna happen. I don't care what you roll. He is not putting this sword down.
Okay.
So I'm not going to have you make a roll just to make a roll, even though there's just no way you're going to get this guy to drop his sword. I mean, he's standing there. He has the sword. He has several of these villagers running forward to lend him hand. He feels he's in the right. He feels that he's the Burgermeister of this town. So, and has full authority here. So what do you want to do?
I will. I will go on one knee and head down.
Okay.
You gonna do what?
He's
one knee. Kind of kneel before the Lord, kind of like deal. Like when you go to a king in a show or something, you go down on one knee and you have your head down.
Damn.
Zarg bows to no man.
Right. He wasn't asking for anyone to bow. Perfect. He points his sword at George, and he issues a command to the mob of villagers that come. He says, "Take that one. By force if you needs be." And, like 8 villagers walk up to you or approach you, George.
I'm gonna get ready.
Okay.
Not handing my weapon over. Anybody in the military they'll never freely hand their weapon over.
All right, we're having a little bit of a blur of a line between playing a game and real life,
but I'm just saying.
That's okay.
George Pass was in
All right. I need to know what the rest of you are going to do, because these villagers are going to subdue George, or at least die in the attempt to do that. I just would like to know what the rest of the party is going to do.
Oh God. I think Renard would just like step up a little bit, step forward a bit, and just George, just put the weapon just down in front of your feet. Hang on to the handle, whatever. Just put them all on the head bit on the ground. Please, we didn't mean this. These are fools, to put it politely. And he would, say that last bit to the Burgermeister. But yeah, just sort of hope and wait for George to put the mole head sort of just on the ground.
You want to know what Zarg does?
Yeah. Initiative is kind of on pause right now because it seems like we reached a resolution, but George is not so quickly to give in.
It makes sense. I see George. George is doing what he has to do. So Zarg looks at him, points his finger, and says, "Drop."
Ooh, that sounds like a spell.
Well, of course it is, my friend.
You are given a command, George. You need to make a wisdom save.
Oh.
Wisdom save.
I'm on that 20.
Oh, bang.
Close enough.
No.
Oh.
And he has no wisdom. That's what's funny.
Yeah. All right.
No,
I did my-
it's his
I did my
intelligence
best
that
to
is.
try to save him. That's the extent
Yeah.
of what I would do.
Yeah, so you feel this this tingling across your arms and your hands, and you feel your grip begin to loosen, George, and then you clench your maul that much harder.
So
It,
I'm gonna-
so it'd be the initiative on you, George.
right, I'm gonna hold on to my maul, but I'm gonna drop the head to the ground. But I'm still gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna say I don't want to hurt any innocent, but I will defend myself. So if they, in other words, I'll stop where I'm at. But if they keep coming forward, I will.
Yeah. This man, this well-dressed man standing before you, still leveling the sword, says, "Innocent? You accost me in my own village, and you dare to say innocent?"
No, I was talking about the villagers. I don't want to hurt it.
Callie's just gonna hide.
Everyone can give me, everyone can give me an insight roll, please.
All right. Yes.
Doesn't really matter.
I'm really doing good on these insights today, guys.
Right.
Zarg actually agrees with the Burgomeister dude. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Callie's a little unhappy with George at this point.
You gotta love player logic, right? They go into an NPC village, they do terrible things there, and they try to play themselves off as like they're the victims.
I said I don't want to hurt any innocent.
What I'm saying is, guess what? The Burgomeister is an innocent person in this village
Bystander.
that you attacked.
You were threatening him, literally. You're gonna pick him
Right,
off the
yeah.
I
ground.
wasn't in range, so I had the right mind to stop.
Yeah. So, so it's
Not
very,
rage, though.
it's very clear to, not to Vernak. He still is doubting whether this guy is who he says he is, but it's very clear to Renard Kalista and Zarg that this truly is, just by the way this guy bears himself and his holier than thou kind of attitude, that he truly is most likely the Burgomeister's son.
Right.
Ismark.
And all the villagers came to rescue him and
Right.
everything, you know.
Yeah, they seem to be responding to his commands, and just because I said that group was coming to apprehend George, that was not all of the armed citizens that were going to come to the Burgomeister's aid. He would turn to who looks like the most rational one of all of you. So Callie's still kind of tucked up on this roof, so she's out of it. Probably Renard.
Yeah.
Zarg does not look rational ever.
Because he did see you kind of these lancing, well, you did do the thing where you tried to get him to drop his weapon.
Well, my action was, but I don't
Yeah.
look like
Yeah. You got the crazy
Yeah,
beard hair
crazy
and shit.
beard out and
Yeah.
shit. I don't really know.
He goes, you do well to have your friend stay his hand. And there's a steel in this man's voice, and when you see him, the way he's holding his weapon, he knows how to use it. So it's not just for show.
Not friend, more like traveling companion. I
Spice are
just,
getting a bunch of shows. So.
please accept my most humble apologies on behalf of the two giant idiots.
Ouch, that hurts.
Truth always does.
He takes a step back and he relaxes his sword a bit, He does not return it to its sheath. And there's quite a crowd now that has assembled itself to either side of you on this street. And he goes, "Speak quickly. Tell me what is your business here in Barovia." He still has his sword, but it is much more relaxed in his hand.
We need to speak with you about your sister. I'll say in like a fairly quiet tone.
His hand seems to tighten a bit on the sword hilt, and he says, "What do you mean you need to speak to me about my sister?" And he says it kind of, it's, probably only the closest villagers would probably hear.
I am going to take out one of these letters.
There's several of the people step back, kind of gripping their clubs or whatever when you do that. And then once they see a piece of paper come out, they relax a little bit. Ismark
I'm going to take out version 2. Oh.
Ooh. Yeah.
Which is how I managed to piece together that they are potentially brother and sister, maybe? He said he was son of the Burgermeister or something, right? So
yes.
Yeah. And then I will just pass him the letter. It's the one that reads like, "My daughter Irina has been bitten by a vampire."
Yeah, he puts the sword back into its sheath, and he takes the 2 letters from you. Or you handing him one at a time?
I'm just handing him one letter, yeah.
Okay, so was you handing him the one that the Vistani gave you? I can't even remember the name of the village you guys.
I think it was off the I think wasn't it the I can't remember which one I got.
You got the handouts right here.
The second one says not to go there.
So the first one says, "Hail to thee of might and valor. I, a lowly servant of Barovia, send honor to thee." They both say, yeah. "We plead for thy to desperately need assistance. The love of my life, Irina Kolyana."
Oh, that's the one I got.
Yeah, has been afflicted. That was the one given to you by the Vistani.
What we found on the body was version 2.
Yeah, that is the one that begins. "My daughter, the fair Irina Kolyana, has been these past few nights." So which one did you hand him?
The "My daughter, the fair Irina." It sounds
okay.
Slightly nicer.
So he takes that, he looks, he reads it. You see him just kind of reading it, and then he looks up at you. You see his eyes. You see the edges of his eyes. You see tears. He says, "Yes, my father wrote this." So he frowns and he says, "So Dalvin, he did not make it." Because he sees the blood on the edges of the letter.
Oh,
you would surmise fairly quickly, Renard, that Dalvin must have been the guy that had carried the letter.
No, we found him in the woods. Wolves got him.
Do not fear, good Burgomaster. We brought him back to the inn.
We brought his body to be buried with whatever rights your people have.
He says, "Better we don't talk about this here in the street." And he looks around, and at that point, Callista, you see on the building, perched on the apex of the roof, is a large raven. If you did not know any better, it looks as though it's looking right at you. It tilts its head, and I guess ravens kind of sound similar to a crow, and just a couple of times, and it kind of shuffles a little bit on the this roof and kind of puffs its feathers.
Be gone, you filthy bird. She'd
throws,
like
a,
to.
throws a rock at it.
Yeah, she's
No,
on
she
a
wants
roof.
She'd step behind a chimney and see if she could actually hide.
There's no chimney. You're like remember you're on like
Okay.
a smaller like a roof that eave roof that hangs up over the road.
I sort of figured any
Street.
building here would need to have something to keep it warm and wouldn't end up with a chimney.
Oh yeah, if you scrambled further up, you would definitely get to where the chimney is.
Yeah, she just grumbles at the bird and gives it a glare, I guess, then, really.
Yeah. It sort of just looks at you for a second, but then it kind of turns its head down and looks at your the party below.
Yeah, she's looking at the party below, too, pretty quickly. She's just like... she
you-
doesn't really understand if ravens are dangerous or not dangerous, but she knows nobody likes them.
Yeah, you hear a flapping of wings and a couple more light next to it. And the same thing. There's kind of that eerie feeling like they're watching you. Just causes the hairs on the back of your neck to come up a bit. Ismark looks at you, Renard. He folds the letter and does not even offer to give it back to you. He puts it in an inner pocket of his coat. And he says, come with me. And he starts to lead you down the road back the way you have come towards the tavern. And so the crowd kind of parts a bit. There's some grumbling and whatnot, and there's some definitely some sideland looks. Did you need to say something, Carol?
Yeah, would Callie be able to follow on the roofs? On the roofs?
Yeah, she would probably have to scamper up on one, but then she would like much like a medieval type setting. The rooftops are fairly close. If you had to go from roof to roof across the street, you would probably require but it'd probably be nothing for her to make little jumps. So yeah, you could follow along. I mean, you might get a couple of weird looks if you did that, because most people walk on the street, but
She likes it on the roof.
yeah. Yeah, so you kind of scamper along. Renard, so he puts a hand on your shoulder and starts to turn you a little bit to lead you back down the way you guys had come. So he would lead you back to the blood on the vine, or blood of the vine.
Is he
tavern.
leading us like in
Yeah,
to the blood of the
he
vine?
leads you
I'd
in.
like try and stop before he got to the door. It's like we should not speak in there.
He's probably just outside of the doorway. He stops and looks at you, then looks back into the doorway, and he says, "Why not?"
And he'd sort of lean forward, almost a whisper, that the Vistani, don't trust them.
He kind of sucks his teeth for a second. So we'll go to a house then. So he turns from the tavern and makes his way further south. Brings you along past Mad Mary's home to the southern part of the village, where he would bring you to his mansion where he lives. You notice it's a weary looking mansion, and it's squat behind a rusted iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn. The right gate lies cast aside, while the left swings lazily in the wind. A shuddering squeal and clang of the gate repeats when with like a mindless procession, so as the wind is blowing it. Weeds choke the grounds and press with menace upon the house itself. Yet against the walls, the growth has been trampled down to create a path all about the home. You see the markings of heavy claw marks stripping the once beautiful finish of the walls. Um, Great black marks tell of fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane of or a shard of glass remains in any of the windows. Um, he pauses only for a moment at the gate, stopping it from swinging. And he looks, he says, "This is my home, where my sister and I live." You can see that he was about to say his father, but he stops. And he leads you to the front door. And he knocks on it. Irina, let me in. He waits a moment. He doesn't hear anything. Kind of turns around, looks at you guys, kind of like, and he turns back. He goes, Irina, that's your brother, Ismark. Let me in. Irina. And there is still no sign. He turns and he goes, I do not know where my sister is.
Those claw marks, they recent. You didn't seem surprised by them.
No, he did not. There are multiple. I'm not going to give that away. It'd be an investigation roll if anybody really wanted to look more closely at the burns or the claw marks.
Marks, you say?
I think Callista.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the Goliath to be straight up in that. Yeah.
Investigation.
Oh,
Can I inspiration on that?
Listen, you guys can use your inspiration on pretty much anything. You don't have to ask permission to do it. It just needs to happen before I tell you.
So
I'm investigating the burns.
Yeah.
Investigation again. I just had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's meant not to investigate.
Vernak, I love it. You got a 0.
A 1 and then a 0.
All right. So I will quickly let Callista and George, who actually rolled a decent investigation rolls. So Callista, you would see that most of the burning does not seem to be recent. And when by recent, I mean within the last few days. But you do see that the outside, at least in the front facade of this great mansion, has there's countless markings. It looks as if maybe some like pots of burning oil or whatnot have been cast against this mansion and have caused mostly superficial damage, mostly due to the fact that the mansion itself is made of like a really like a wattle and daub, so it's not very flammable. And George, you would see that the trampling around the building in front and the claw marks are varying ages, with the most recent probably being maybe even the past night. So Ismark turns and looks to you, Renard. You can see that dour look on his face replaced by that of someone with concern. And like again, I'll just repeat what he says. He goes, "I do not know where she is." And you can see the worry on his face.
Maybe she's sleeping. Do you not have a key, or is it?
It is barred from the inside. Yeah, it almost like like as you're asking the question, he's already answering. And he turns.
No other door.
Yeah, he turns as you are asking the question, and he. Irina! He yells, and he bangs on the door much louder now.
I would imagine by now Callista's joined the party, by the way.
Yeah. I would imagine you would have had to drop down off the
Yeah,
roofs
once we got out
right at the
away from
tavern.
town.
If you look at the map. So
Yeah,
yeah,
left
you're,
across the road or something.
yeah.
Like I
I
named
still would have dropped down once things settled down and followed along.
She shoots her spidey web, and
Yeah, my spidey web. Right.
so yeah, he bangs harder on the door, and you can just hear it rattle against his blows.
Callista's like, I don't think she's going to answer.
Does she normally sleep during the day?
Ooh.
It's
Dead
smart.
tired, you could say.
It's almost as if Ismark maybe sees you. He's been talking primarily with Renard. He turns to you, maybe taking in your countenance for the first real time, and he says, "We do not sleep well at night." And he looks at the outside, the facade, and he says, "As you can see, the attacks on our home are incessant. Sleep does not come easily in the evenings for us."
I'm gonna ask Ismark, you want George try open door?
I might be able to get in.
He would give it a nod. You would say that too, Callista. So maybe you're like starting to get your little tools out to like do the lock
Right.
or whatever. George.
Nope.
Yeah, the doors are, even though they look weathered and aged, they are made of stout wood, and they kind of creak against your efforts, George, but they hold.
That does not make any sense. You are worried about people breaking in, but you're allowing my friend here to burst through your door, leaving you defenseless.
You get a sense that Ismark did not think that that he was giving George permission to break in the doors, but actually to knock on the door. Because you would see this like shocked look on his face as George is just like, boom.
Friend George, I don't think that's what he meant. Knock on the door, not bash in it.
And so Callista, you kind of like go over there. So you definitely think you work the lock.
She has a long, thin piece of metal that she can slide between the doors and try to lift the bar.
Yeah. She is not much. She is not much of a thief, but sure.
You definitely feel that you know the tumblers of this lock.
The crowbar.
Give way, but you realize that it is barred from within. And your thin bit of metal is not enough to lift what must be. Well, you saw the Goliath go against the door, and it shuddered a bit, but it stayed firm.
But if the Burgermeister gives us permission, perhaps the windows. One of us could come through the window.
I could climb pretty easily.
It does not surprise me that you can break into homes pretty easily.
Oh!
But if the Burgermeister allows it, then it's not breaking and entering. So
as this conversation is happening, you hear this very hushed sound from the other side. Ismark, is that you? And it sounds to be in a feminine voice. And he says, "Yes, it is I. Open the door." And you hear the sound of a bar being lifted, and the door is opened, revealing a young, blonde, very attractive woman. She has, unfortunately, looks as though, like Ismark said, not slept well. Her eyes are red and puffy from crying, or you would have surmised crying. And she looks a little unkempt. She smiles at her brother, and then there's almost this moment of start when she sees the rest of you, and she goes, and she pauses. She doesn't say anything actually. Ismark steps forward and gives her a warm embrace.
is she? Would you say she's in the light of the day?
Yeah. Yep. The pale gray light definitely comes in across there. Oh, so you're pretty perceptive, Zarg. So one of the things you would see is this very fine, not satin, but this very fine linen cloth has been wrapped and tied around her neck. And she, as she embraces her brother, and they separate, she says, "Oh, you have brought visitors." And it's more of a matter of fact than any real emotion behind it.
I am Renard, and this is Zarg of Talos. And oh yes, I am also of Talos. Yes, he quickly adds in. Yeah. Keep on forgetting that. And these are George, Vernac, Callista, and I'm sure. Oh God, I've just suddenly blanked. Zadara has been just like following us this entire time, or
nope.
She ran
Zadara
off.
kind of took off. You don't know
Took
where
off.
she went.
But
Okay.
you forgot Brother Pilfert, though.
if he's like sitting on the shoulder or something, yeah.
Yeah. I'll let
I just like to think that
I'll let George decide if Pilfert's on his shoulder right now or tucked away.
Oh, he's tucked away.
Aw. All right. Because Zarg considers him part of the group.
Yeah.
More than Callista.
Well, at least Pilfert hasn't tried to pilfer anything from you.
Yeah, not yet.
I have to say, I'm out of game. I'm a bit disappointed that Zarg hasn't dealt with Callista yet.
We haven't had time.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Make time.
Plenty of a distraction for Zarg to do what he needed to do to Callista.
Wait, what do you think Zarg is going to do to Callista?
I think that storm has passed, George. I think it's a
think
different storm that is brewing now.
George is waiting for murder, I think.
So yeah, you guys are ushered in. What you see in the interior of the mansion is that it's well furnished. Yet they show the signs of great wear. Noticeable oddities are the boarded up windows and the presence of holy symbols adorned across every room that you can see. And with the exception of there's these double doors that are closed. Ismark points to those doors and he says, "Beyond lies my father."
You did not bury him. You did not bury him in consecrated grounds.
He looks down, almost defeated, which is so out of character for this man who was willing to stand up to you all. He says, "No." And then his sister, Irina, she's next to her brother. She puts a comforting hand on him. She says, and she looks at you, Zarg, and she says, we wish to, but none of the village will help us. They think it'll bring upon us the wrath of Strahd, the devil. Yeah, no thunder.
That was pretty good, actually. I heard a dog bark at the right time. I was like, we will help you. That sounds like something that we shall do.
You see her brighten up, and she smiles, and she says, "You will, truly."
Of course. I'd rather have him buried in a dirt grave than coming back up to kill somebody.
She smiles at her brother, and she goes, "Ismark, this is truly a blessed day." And you see Ismark, he looks at you, and again, tears brimming in his eyes, and he says, words failed me.
It is understandable. But you are around two priests of Talos, Renard of Talos and Zarg of Talos. We get things done.
Well, truly, if you will help us, then I will do everything in my power to help you as well. I had asked what brought you here to Barovia, but it would seem that part of your purpose is to help us.
Zarg is about to open his mouth, but he looks at Renard for a second. If Renard doesn't say anything, Zarg will start talking.
And anyone else can talk as well too. You're all there.
There's so much of me personally that just wants to let Zarg just go nuts. Hilarious. But no, I think Renard would have learned his lesson by now. And say, oh, we came into possession of a letter from your father explaining your sort of puts his hand to his neck, your situation.
When
We
you
would like
say,
to help.
yeah, it's almost like that subconscious. She reaches up and touches it, and you see her brother frown, and he looks at you, Renard, and he says, "My sister, she has no memory of it. I fear that the devil will take her. It is why we have boarded up all the windows and why we are attacked every night. He wants his prize, and I will not let him have my sister."
That sounds epic.
Can I just say, and the music right at this moment
Yeah,
is
it's perfect,
so
wasn't it?
perfect.
That's not playing for me.
Yeah, I don't hear it either.
It's probably just off or turned down on your roll 20.
Yeah, and you rolled.
Oh, it's max
On roll
volume.
20?
So yeah, he would say he would confirm for you all that the church does and the graveyard does lie to the north of the village, in the direction you were going from. Ismark would say, when I happened upon you, and he frowns and looks, you can't miss the nasty venomous look he gives George and Vernak. He says, "You came across me when after I had met with our priest here. The man has no backbone. He says he will bury my father, but will do nothing to help me get him there. And these people, and they are my people, but they fear the devil. They fear helping me will bring its vengeance upon them."
So if we help you, then Strahd will come after us.
It looks like he wants to lie. And then thinks better of it, and he says, he kind of like, his left hand kind of just fingers at the working at the pommel of his sword, and he says, "I fear that is true."
That is perfect, Renard.
There's like a startled,
All we have to do is bring the body to the graveyard.
there's like a little from Irina as you do that. She steps back from the loud Zargism. The Zargasm. That's what we're gonna call it, a Zargasm.
This is a great day, my friends. We shall defeat this great evil, and our names will go down in history as the slayers of vampires. The Lord Vampire.
George is going to look at
You
Zarg and say, "What's a vampire?"
Don't worry, my lad friend. When we see one, I will point at it, and you will smash it. Smash it into the ground.
When you say that, Ismark would answer the question for you, George. He would say, "It is someone who has returned from the dead, and they feast upon the blood of the living."
Oh.
They need to be dead again.
George is like, whoa.
He's like, "Oh, that's
Whoa.
interesting."
I don't know what to think about that.
He's like thinking, maybe I'm a vampire because I kill wolves and drink their blood.
Yeah.
And Callie's like,
No,
I
wait. I don't want to take away George.
Yeah.
George, you wanted to say something. I don't want to.
George, what did you say?
Now I forgot.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Well, we can
Whoa.
rewind. We can say they returned from the dead and they drink the blood of the living.
Sound like we should kill.
He's like he's gonna say something to that, but he's like slowly kind of brings his head up and down and agreeing with you.
Yeah. Kelly just kind of sighs because she doesn't really know how she got here. She doesn't know how she's getting back, but she thinks her only hope is to stay with these people and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
She doesn't want anything to do with any of it, really.
Well, if you believe what you've heard, you're trapped here in the valley. If you believe what they say about the mist.
Right.
I mean, you
She's
guys.
hoping the only way back would be.
You guys passed through the mist, and you didn't remember feeling any kind of ill effects from it. Though what the Vistani have told you is, if you try to pass through it, you will die.
What's Ismar's father? He's in a coffin, right?
You haven't seen. He's pointed to these double doors that are closed. You see religious symbols have been etched in the wood of the doors, but he said that he's beyond there. Yeah.
Bernac heads towards the doors.
If you start to head towards the doors, I think Ismark would fall in step with you and open the doors. You immediately smell death. It is you smell incense burning as well, but it mingles with the smell of a body that is starting to decay. And you see in the center of this room, in a wooden coffin, the top open, the body of an elderly man, slightly overweight, his hair thin and gray, very pallid look, even more so like drawn, but he's dead. So, but even more so, I mean, his skin gray.
So I'm gonna tell Vernac, you grab one side, I grab other, and we pick and lift it up and start going towards the graveyard.
Yeah, I think that would be easy enough for the two of you for certain. You would
Well, especially since Goliaths are considered larger when lifting.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys could easily, between the two of you, one at the front and one at the back, could easily carry this. As you easily, you put the cover on this coffin, and Ismark begins to hammer nails to seal it.
George wasn't thinking that.
He was just going to carry
it out.
Yeah, I know.
Before they could put the cover in.
Yeah, but when you start to do that, maybe he just says, hold on. And he would say, help me with this. And you help him put the lid on this coffin. And he begins to hammer it with these iron nails.
While they're doing that, can Zara go to Irina?
Yep. Yeah, she's kind of like hanging in the periphery of this room while the other men are taking care of her father.
Lady Irina, I am a servant of Talos. I am a powerful healer because my God gives me the power. Perhaps I can look at you to see if I can help you in any way.
But whatever do you mean? And you see that she kind of she like touches her neck.
I will.
And she. Oh, let me just say.
Yeah, sure.
She goes, "Whatever do you mean?" And she goes, "My brother, he tells me that I have an affliction, but I do not think so. I have no memory of this."
Would you not like to know for sure? I can examine you, and we shall know.
Zar's gonna do a Larry Nasser.
I don't know who Larry Nasser is.
I don't know who Larry Nasser is.
Assuming it's some sort of sexual thing.
He's the one that got busted for molesting all those gymnasts 2 years ago.
Oh.
There was like 158 gymnasts. Part of their treatment was he would stick his finger up their bum and their.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez.
So
we are recording.
I am going to edit that part out of this video.
We are recording it.
The power of edit.
You don't want to be anything like Larry
Yeah, I would have probably said more of a Biden type thing, but Charlie goes right to the Nasser.
I'm not putting my fingers up her ass to find out if she got bit by a vampire.
Let me see if you've been bit by a vampire. No, but you're down a quart.
Yeah, get your brother over here. I need to stick my finger up his ass too.
I need to do it simultaneously in order to correct the channel.
All right,
Oh
guys.
god. All right, I'm just looking at the timestamp so that I know where to go to edit it. All right.
This is my
Just write, yeah,
This
write
is
that
my
timestamp down.
thermometer. Where's my
So
pen?
so you say she if you think it might help,
It will, lady.
and she
It
reaches
will
up
help
and
us.
she starts to undo the binding around her neck, and she just slowly unwraps it. And
As she's doing that, I will gently lead her to the chair, just so she's sitting down.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of this old, worn, high back chair. She sits down there, and there's this bit of like gossamer padding over this, and there you definitely see there are two appear to be fresh puncture wounds in her neck.
Tell me, lady, how many times have you forgotten what has happened to you at night?
I have all sorts of bad dreams. They come to me worse in these last few weeks.
I will stand behind her so she can't see me, and I'll just tilt her head slightly so I can look at the holes.
Mhm.
I'm gonna pull out my flask with holy water, and I'm just gonna dribble some onto the wounds to see what happens.
Yeah, you ever seen peroxide when it hits a wound? And that's what it does.
How does she react to it? Does she...
You see her wince, and her hands grabbing the arms of this high back chair. Just you can see her fingernails just dig into the wood. But she seems rather sturdy. And she clenches her teeth.
With that, I will.
What are you doing?
Don't worry, we are cleaning out the infection. I look at Renard and go. Then I will get out my cloth and start to wrap it, but I will hand her the flask and say, "Drink this, lady. It will be hard, but drink the whole thing. It is blessed by Talos."
She looks at you. You clearly see the pain on her face. She looks down at the flask, her hands shaking, and she brings it to her lips, and takes a sip.
I cast bless on her. Just to say, I don't know. Talos is trying anything he can, but yeah, that's my last spell. So I'll cast bless.
Okay.
I don't think it really is going to do anything. I'm just trying.
What
to
is she drinking?
Holy water.
Oh my gosh. It touches her lips, and she puts it in her mouth, and she immediately spits it out onto the floor. And the flask falls from her hand and poof, hits the floor, and you hear gloop, 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 as it starts to. And she says, "What is that poison you give me?"
It is just water. Salt water blessed by my God. Those who cannot taste it, those who cannot handle it, are usually inflicted with some sort of disease.
Why would anyone put salt in water?
Because that's the way water should be drank. And I will begin to wrap up her neck using my healing kit. I'll use up the use of the healing kit.
Yep, that's perfect.
Then I will mouth to Renard. I'll be like,
Oh, I love it. And what are the rest of you doing? So we have George and Veranak helping Ismark prepare the Burgermeister to be buried, and
I would just be staring intently at that hole. So I read a situation.
oh yeah, it's like you're speechless. Like maybe at one point even your jaws open, like oh.
Callie's kind of watching that, but she's also nervously kind of half pacing, half sneaking around the room, just looking at things in the room and kind of. She's too nervous to hold still.
Yeah, you see several holy symbols, which you may or may not recognize. But what these holy symbols are different iterations of what is a sunburst, or a rising glorious sun. So Zarg, you would probably recognize this as the markings of the Morning Lord Lythander. I'm not so certain as much for the others.
he's not so much of a god as he is Aegis. crazy little man who tries to defeat the undead. Apparently, he's failing, but Talos is here. That is working.
Yes, Talos is strong
Kelly
here.
doesn't know about Alexander.
Yeah. So
She automatically evaluates any of the items for their value as she wanders
nice.
past them.
oh yeah, you would definitely see from very simple holy symbols or whatnot, but there's like candlesticks. I mean, there's definitely things of value in this room. You would guess that the Idravanovich, oh my gosh, man, these names.
Idravanovich.
Yes. Colin Idravanovich, who is the Burgomeister that has died, he's quite wealthy. And even though his home has fallen on less than prosperous times, there's still wealth within here.
Well, she doesn't take anything. She's pretty careful to make it clear she's not going to.
What?
She kind of learned that
Callie has
Zark
learned a
gets
lesson?
Zark can be a little touchy.
A little touchy.
So she looks at each one of these things, though, and in the back of her mind, she's just cataloging what they are and what they're worth as she goes through.
Yeah. When everybody's dead, I will come back for this item and this item and this item.
I'm just really disappointed that Callista, once Zarg is like attention is fully focused on Irina, that she's not like, oh.
I don't know. Last time Zarg's attention was fully taken, says something.
Yeah, she was pretty frightened by that. She's not very brave, really.
Yeah, you have that recurring nightmare of Zarg's face going all dark, like a thundercloud, and his hand coming up.
And she's seen what that hand does, and she's like, I think I will wait till he's just not present if I'm going to try to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just automatic. This whole evaluating everything is just how she was trained in the thieves guild as a child.
She's like, if I were going to steal stuff from this room, I would take that. I would not take that. I would definitely not take that because they make that look like it's worth a lot, but it's really not. It's just not worth it. So yeah, you're going through the room categorized.
That's actually gold.
But to everybody else, what they
them,
see
that's
is
glass.
to everyone else, they see a very thoughtful Callista walking about the room. Maybe straightening something that's a little crooked or something. Yeah. Testing the boards to make sure they're sturdy enough so no bad thing's gonna come through. So Ismark says to you, Vernak and George, he says, I have a cart outside. We could hook up a horse and use that to get my father to the church. You get a sense that he doesn't realize just how strong the two of you really are.
Vernak, no horse.
Oh, I can't hear you, George.
I can hear you from the other room.
Yeah, I can hear you from Vernak's room.
I can hear you in Brian's.
He sounds like he's talking in a tunnel.
Yeah, dude.
You're muted, bud.
Yeah, you're muted, George.
All right. Just start walking towards the door with the coffin.
Yeah, so you guys just heft it up, and Ismark actually steps back, and you see this kind of look on his face that says, maybe it's a good thing that maybe we didn't fight. And he says, I will lead the way. And then he turns, you're probably just finished tying the thing, and he goes over, he sets a comforting hand, a gentle hand on to Irina, and he says, bar the door when we leave. We will be back after we have buried our... Oh, wait, no. You know what? I'm not going to do that. He is going to say that. And then Irina looks up at him. She goes, I am going to go with you. It is daytime. His power is not as strong. I don't think it's a good idea. You know, they start to bicker. And as Vernak and George are like...
They're already halfway.
They actually kind of... I don't know. Maybe you guys stop. It's one of those things, you know, when movers are helping move something. Oh, I think No.
Can you put it over there? How about over here?
So, so they begin to bicker between the two of them. Clearly, Ismark does not want Irina to leave the safety of their home, but she wants to go.
If the young lady wants to go, Ismark, she can stay with me. I will protect her.
He's about persuasion, Zarg.
You
Kelly
want
snort.
Zarg to persuade him?
Yeah, I was going to like. Oh my gosh, I'm so used to playing a lot of heavy roleplay games where
Yeah, but
there's
we
a lot
don't
of
roll
lot,
much.
There's not a lot of rolls, but yeah, let's get a roll in there. Let's see.
I'm gonna use.
Well, I think there's an
Inspiration.
opportunity sometimes that others might be able to try to beat. Yeah,
That's what I said. I was gonna use the inspiration. Thing.
you kind of knew what was going to happen.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I did that
I'm not-
earlier and it ended up being a 0. How can I work?
It works for me.
Yes.
Zero
He says
earlier.
Alice is with him.
he listens to
Maybe
you.
I should follow Talos at this point.
Everyone,
Everyone-
I'm calling it right now. By if anyone that survives to the end of this campaign, it's going to be their name of Talos. You are going to have a
Please,
full-on
it'd be
freaking
then we
following.
will be known as the group of Talos.
Yeah.
We are the
It
band.
it would work better if I could go Zealot.
Zarg will be like, I am not leaving this valley. I am founding this valley after my great lord Talos. So
Let's
he
be honest. When Strahd is gone, someone has to.
that is true. It'll be a power vacuum if not.
Callie can take it.
Kelly. So he nods to you. It's a very curt nod, and then he looks at Irina and he says, "You stay very close to me and to this one." And there's no insult in it when he says that. So yeah, you would begin to make your way up the street. You would see the procession draws the attention of any that see it. Of note, I think probably to your party would be as you pass the Blood of the Vine tavern, you see the 3 Vasanti women are just outside of the doorway watching you go by. With, oh gosh, what's her name? Alinka, a knowing smile on very evident on Alinka's face. Any one of you that makes eye contact towards her, she kind of would nod her head, with that cock smile. She says nothing. No one says anything to you, or anyone tries to bar your way. You make your way through the village, and you see the church ahead of you. It's atop a slight rise, and against the roof of the pillar stone that support Castle Ravenloft beyond, you see a sagging gray edifice of stone and wood. The church has obviously weathered the assaults of evil for centuries on end, and it's worn and weary. A bell tower rises toward the back, and the flickering light, well, I guess you wouldn't see a flickering light because it's daytime. And you see there are holes within the shingled roof, and you can see the straining rafters beneath. Ismark would point and not say to anyone and he says, "We will go get the father first. The graveyard is in the back." And he would look to you, George, and Vernak. "Bring my father's coffin there. We'll meet you."
Okay, bring it to the back.
Alrighty.
Okay, perfect. So you guys move back to the graveyard, and Ismark and Irina go to make their way to the front doors of this church.
I follow them.
Okay, who is going with Ismark and Irina, and who is going
I
with
am
Vernak?
going with Ishmak and Irina as well.
Okay.
I'm going with the coffin and Vernak and George.
Okay, perfect. So the what? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because I figured that, they'll probably need some sort of help.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. They need someone.
You feel
Thank you,
a
thank you.
mild responsibility for them somehow.
The four of you make your way up to the heavy wooden doors of the church, and you notice, much like the mansion of the Burgermeister, the wood is crisscross and covered with claw marks, and you see that it is also scarred by fire. Ismark, when he gets to the door, he knocks on it. Father Donovic! It is Ismark. I have returned. I have brought my father. There's a long pause, and you would hear the shuffling of feet, and you would hear locks being undone, and a bar being moved, and a short, stooped man with pallid skin kind of squints a bit as he opens the door, and he says, Ismark, my boy. And then he notices the rest of you. He says, you have found help then. Certainly I will bury your father. He was a good man. And he steps out onto the front step of the church, and he closes the door. He looks nervously behind him before he does so.
What holy symbols above the door? Like, is he wearing a symbol of a holy relic?
Yep.
A lathander?
You would see a sunburst pendant of silver hanging from his neck. His robes, however, though, probably once were a very like a fresh snow white, are now soiled and faded and threadbare. And you could see like the vestment. I don't know what it's called. I'm not a very religious person.
Sure.
But that little band of cloth, which is also marked with runes and the sunburst, the rising sun of the morning Lord. And he smiles at you. He says, I am Father Donovic. It is a blessing that you have willing to help Ismark and his sister Irina. Their poor father died several days ago, and no one from the village, and he would look down at the village, were willing to help get the body here for fear of... And he leaves that unsaid. He looks very nervous.
Renard would speak up. Tell me, Father, why do you keep the doors of the church locked? Is this place on a, side of like open worship?
Yeah, you see this sad look go across his face. He goes, once, many, many years ago, not anymore. Faith in the morning, Lord, has faded. They have given in to despair.
But why lock? Do the villagers dislike you?
Shakes his head sadly. He says, it's not that they do not like me. It is just they fear the devil. As you can see, the devil wishes...
I want to insight roll that.
Yep. The devil wishes... I'll have him finish what he was saying, and then you can give me the insight roll. The devil wishes to take away the last vestiges of good here in the valley. It's why he attacks my church, and it's why no one comes anymore.
It just seemed really shifty about the the lock and looking back worriedly. And
he's not telling you everything, or he's not being totally truthful with you about why he bars this door.
What are you keeping in?
What did you ask? Lionel didn't hear what you said.
Zach just looks at him directly and says, what are you keeping inside the church?
I'm keeping nothing in there. You could give me an insight roll if you would like, Zarg. Renard, you can do it as well with advantage because you already think that there's something going on with this cat.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I believe him. He looks good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you believe him. Like, you still have that feeling, but you can't be certain. It's like one of those things, like, you think you know, but you're not quite certain, so you're not comfortable enough. Even Zarg is not comfortable enough to challenge. him. Plus you've seen the evidence down at the at Ismark and Irina's mansion that the evil is trying to get in there.
The problem, as I turn to Renard, is that these places are keeping the evil at bay, no matter how powerful it says it is. Why would people not trust that it's safe to worship here? It makes no sense to me. If the evil cannot get in now, even when there's no one worshiping, then there's power here that would protect them. Talos would destroy the evil if it tried to enter his place. Perhaps Lathander should be taken away and Talos should take over here.
You speak blasphemous words.
No, I'm suggesting an outcome that might be more favorable to my cause.
It is not that others have not tried. They have tried, and they have failed. There was a great wizard once.
Wizard is not divine in nature.
But he had great power. He got the people to rise up against the devil. Stormed the castle. They failed. Others, and he's looking at the two of you, like yourselves, have come here to the valley. They thought that they could defeat the devil. All have failed. The lucky ones perished. And he shakes his head. He goes, those not so lucky still serve the devil.
So as a holy man, your suggestion is that we give up? We don't do anything?
You can see the pain on his face when you say that, because you get a sense that he has, but he doesn't want to admit it by saying it out loud. And he's in his head is nodding, and he says, I would never give up. So it's one of those things, like subconsciously he's like, yes, but in voice of word, he's like, no. He goes, I still have faith in Lathander. And he touches affectionately the holy symbol at his neck.
I reach out and grab his shoulder and say to him, well, then you are lucky that I am here. I will bring Talos to this Strahd and we will destroy him. And if not, maybe someone else will come after us and destroy him. But don't give up faith, my friend. It's the only thing you have.
He sort of gives you that look like he's certain that Talos is probably some divine being. But you get a sense that he does not recognize him as a part of a pantheon.
I get the feeling there's some sort of dichotomy here,
like a sense of isolation if you believe what you've been told. So if this man truly was born here in the valley, then he probably would not know of Talos. So he looks back to Ismark and Irina and he says, well, let's get this done quickly. It is not safe for her to be out. And he looks knowingly at Ismark, and Ismark gives him just like a very affirmative nod. He says, quickly, go to the graveyard. I will go in and get the accoutrements that I need.
Do you need help, Brother Donovan?
No, I can do this. Go with Ismark. Keep Irina safe. You don't need an insight check for that. That he was very quick.
That was pretty good.
Very quick to tell you no.
I look over at Renard, but I will not leave on Irina's side, so I won't do it.
Yeah, perfect. So the others of you carry this coffin around as they approach the front door. You see that there is a cemetery of some fashion behind this church. It is surrounded by wrought iron, rusty fencing. There's a rusty gate that lays open. And you see that the gravestones, many of them are tipped and or broken. It is overgrown with heavy verb grass and whatnot, and it does not look as though any frequent this cemetery in any sort of fashion.
Is there a spot set aside already where
You do not see one. No. Oh, you know something? That's actually a good question, George. Why don't you guys all give me a perception roll, the three of you that are there?
Yeah.
Because usually they'll have something dug ahead of time. Well, that's not much use.
Yeah.
neither am I?
Because my passive is 15, so. Oh,
Ooh.
Vernac.
Vernac. You start to approach this gate, carrying it. I guess Vernac, you're at the front, holding the front end of the coffin, kind of holding it behind you, and you're walking. Well, the first thing you all would notice is as you pass through this gate into the cemetery itself, there's almost this feeling of ease and wellness comes over you. This feeling of peace, and you would sense, maybe probably due to your tribal nature, it's very similar to when you think of the grave sites. I don't know. This is probably just me, but when I think of, and you guys can tell me if this is how the Goliaths inter their dead, but I think much like a lot of Native American would do here in the States, is they would put them up on these platforms with all their precious earthly items. So it's almost kind of that sense of peace you guys get as you walk in there, that this is hallowed ground. I'm certain that Vernac and George would maybe not quite put it that way, but they feel the power of this place. Callista, you as well. As you're looking, where do we go? And you, I don't know if you guys set down the coffin or not as you're doing this. And you're kind of looking around, Callista and George, and Vernac notices there's oddly, there's this one spot if you've ever been to a graveyard, and then there's that place where there's the granite where it marks off like a family plot or something. He points off to this one place, and unlike most of the other graves, the grass here has been sheared short. And unfortunately, Vernac does not know how to read. But as he points it out to you, Callista, you do. You're able to go forward, and you can see the family name, Idranovich, on this great headstone. And you can see that there's already some plots that have been used, but it's a pretty good section of this graveyard.
Oh, she says, yes, this seems to be the family section. Let's bring him over here and wait for the others.
Yep, you bring him over, and you're setting him down onto the grass when the other four, you can see them approaching, coming through the gate of the graveyard. And it's not long after that you see this kind of this hunched and appearing broken man with pale skin, deep dark circles under his eyes, soiled robes, comes forward, and he carries with him a censer and a block of incense. But he also has tucked under his arm a couple of shovels. Oh, Dad, do that in character, my man.
Oh God, hold on. The cat is invading.
Those cats are out of control, man.
They really are. These little kitten things are just awake.
Kitten things, I like that. Those little kitten things.
Don't go near the mic. All right. Yeah. So on the way over, sort of without trying to do his best to get out of earshot of Irina and however you pronounce that guy's name, Irovich, something like that. Renard would, Renard would whisper to Zarga, the father is hiding something.
Of course he is, Renard.
Oh, the father. No, that's not Ivanovich. That's the
Donovan.
Burgomeister. It's
Brother Donovan.
Yeah.
I wrote it down so I would not forget. It's the only name that's easy to remember. All
No,
the
it's
rest are-
Donna. No, it's Donovic.
he was-
Oh, Donovic. Okay.
Yeah, it's always Vic.
Don't rub the mic.
Oh, good.
Hey, cat. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I heard it.
One of it.
Nice purr. He is hiding something. I think he's hiding something within the church. The way he looked back when he closed the door, it just makes no sense. There is nothing to
Yes.
see if you're leaving an empty place. It's almost as if he was afraid we would see something. I don't feel negativity from him. Perhaps he's protecting someone that he's afraid someone else will see. I do not know.
Just strange.
Give me, if you guys are trying to keep this conversation private from Ismark.
I just thought he was like in the back. Or is this? Oh, this is the Burgomeister.
Yeah, the four of you guys are kind of making your way to the cemetery now after when the father goes in. So
So make
So
what kind of roll should I make?
I'm thinking deception, or it could be stealth, depending on how quiet you're trying to be, because you're going
I'm
against.
trying to be pretty quiet.
I mean, I'm not overly quiet, but
That's the fear, right?
Never.
Yeah. I guess I'll roll stealth, but I'm guessing this is going to be pretty low because Talos will will it. No, Talos wants us to be quiet.
one of us is saying things loudly.
The calm before the storm.
Yeah, so it's probably just your half of the conversation is fairly quiet, Renard. But I guess by Zarg standards, he's fairly quiet.
I am not yelling like I normally do, so that I can.
So let me see, what would the average of that be? So it'd be about what, 11?
17 is 21 divided by 2 would be 10.
Yeah. So Ismark, he's kind of walking ahead of you guys with Irina, and he would turn around and say, "What is it you whisper about?"
I do not trust the brother. He has something going on that seems untoward, like he's hiding something.
He looks at the church as he's kind of. He goes, "Father Donovic is a good man."
I agree with you. He seems like a fair and kind man, but he still can be hiding something. Renard here has many secrets, but he is a good man.
He that would be the sound of Zarg throwing Renard under the bus.
Under the table again. Yeah.
He doesn't bite on that though. What he says is, no, it's Irina would probably say it. Irina says, "He has never been the same since he lost his son."
Is his son perished?
He died. You remember the wizard that Father Donovic mentioned? His son, Doru, fell under the sway of the wizard and went with the others to defeat the devil. None of them returned. Father Donovic has not been the same since. He's stricken with grief with the loss of his son. And you see Ismark kind of nodding his agreement. So the other of you would see the four of them. They're kind of walking slowly towards you, and they seem to be deep in this conversation. And you would see the doddering priest further behind, carrying the implements that I had said.
We will keep an eye out, I guess. What else can we do, Renard?
Yeah. You get a sense from Ismark and Irina that there's truth in their words. Whether you believe that that's what causes the ill ease you have, Renard, I leave that to you. So when you're all assembled in this family plot, Father Donovic hands two shovels to obviously the two most brutish, not to stereotype, but the two most brutish looking dudes here.
So Renard and Callie.
Yes.
Of course.
Renard and Callie. Of course, he's never been good with names, so he hands shovels to Vernak and George.
Oh, okay. That makes me more sense.
And it's up to you whether or not you will dig the grave. But once the grave is dug, the coffin is lowered.
Handed me the shovel.
Yeah, the priest.
Okay, so when I go to start digging, the first shovel full of dirt is gonna go right on the priest.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Vernek's just gonna shuffle.
I hope it's like a really muddy.
of course, man. It rains here like 9 days out of 10.
Okay,
So it's just this big cloppy. Think of like 13th Warrior when the one guy throws it on the back of the big guy, Angus.
Throwing it around like an animal or something.
Yes.
Now I'm
an
an
animal. Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do. Whack.
Your insults are weak and feeble like a woman. Now I'm a woman?
Yes. Big clump of this grass and earth
sticks there.
hits right to the front of this, just below the holy symbol of this priest. And there's that moment of shock, but not only in Father Donovic, but Irina and Ismark as well.
And Renaud.
And Renaud. Yeah, I don't want to speak for the rest of you guys.
I mean, in Zarg, so I was like...
And so you need to... Do you care if it's obvious that you did it, or are you trying to make it look accidental, much like in the 13th Warrior?
Oh my god. George doesn't give two shits.
I really don't. Yeah, I don't give two shits. Just the fact that he automatically handed me the shovel, that was kind of insulting.
Yeah.
I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but
you look like a shovel, so that's why he handed you one.
But you're the most accurate thrown dirt. So
so this clump of earth, much of it kind of tumbles and falls to the ground, but there's still obviously that smear on the front of his less than white robes, and he says, "Careful, you throw earth carelessly around like an animal." No, he does not say that. But there's just that moment of shock as there's the next sound, and it's just broken by the sound of Vernak when he goes, you hear shh, as he kind of just Vernak's. I don't know, Vernak, are you happily shoveling away, digging a grave?
Yeah. Maybe even humming a song or something. I don't know.
Oh, really quickly. I don't want to roll back too much time, but I want to just maybe just retcon something really quick. It probably would make sense that Ismark and Irina would probably collect the body of the man that you found, because he actually served that family. So they would want him buried as well. So just,
now we're burying two bodies?
Yeah, just flashing back. But he's not going to get buried there. He'd get buried somebody else. But I think Ismark would say that if you guys don't want to dig the other grave for that one, I think Ismark would do it on his own. But they would just collect that body. And the women, so that they would still have that look, but it would be Ismark walking in and then coming out carrying the body, and you'd place it. I guess he wouldn't. Well, would he place it? No, he would carry it, I guess. This guy is not very big.
If he didn't take it, I would have taken it anyways.
Yeah. So maybe
I've already consecrated the body as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you help him carry the body. So that's, sorry for that quick little jump in, but I was thinking, oh yeah, we would.
I was actually going to mention that when we passed it, but I'm like, nah.
You should have. I
like,
totally forgot till just this moment. I'm like, wait a second, they would probably want to bury that guy as well.
If I hadn't done the whole blessing thing with the holy water, Zarg would have went in and got him. But Zarg's
mind, his
soul's already gone, and Talos has him. It's fine.
Yeah. So perfect. There is. So unless George is careless with the flinging of his soil, a hole is dug, and George, that was perfect, by the way. The coffin is lowered, and the priest completes this ritual of to consecrate the burial of this once great man. And so the earth is then returned, covering up the coffin. You would see Ismark obviously putting on a brave face, though truly saddened at the loss of his father. And Irina is just openly sobbing. And the priest then comforts her, says a few kind words to her brother. And then he was kind of shuffling away back to towards the church.
Can I say, as far as Zarg is concerned, did he do enough of the religious rites to prevent that? Is the ground consecrated?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Zarg, you would notice once you walk actually onto the hallowed ground, you would definitely get that sense that the ground is hallowed and holy, not touched by any sort of darkness. So you get a sense that
did I pick up any power from Brother Donovan?
Yep.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's.
Yeah, you would definitely see that he definitely carries with him some divine authority. Definitely, I think you would probably most likely notice that, Zarg, when he's actually doing the ceremony.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
When he was doing the ceremony.
Yeah, you would. It'd probably be really subtle, and I imagine that because you can touch the divine, you would actually see that holy symbol along that hangs from his neck begin to glow with this golden warm light. It would not be seen by others that were assembled around there unless they can actually create divine magic. And you would see that, and you would almost see that, you would feel that gentle passing that you would expect to see. And yeah, so the other man would have been buried, and the priest would do that as well, and then he would wish you all well. And he would look pretty worn from doing both of those ceremonies. And he looked pretty tired to begin with. And he would bid you guys adieu and start to make his way back to the church.
Before he gets too far, Zarg holds up one of his empty vials of holy water and he taps it, but he's looking at Renard, saying, "Look, ding, 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 this is empty."
I think I understand.
Callie just rolls her eyes.
Father, before you go,
it's brother.
Or
no, they call him Father Donovan.
I suppose I'm a priest now.
I don't believe John's messing with you like that.
You're forgetting.
Nobody can believe that I would mess with anybody.
Right.
What is that thing called? They get dunked into when you're christened.
I don't, no idea, man.
Some big plinthy thing with a
yeah. It's like a plinth, but it has a bowl, and you would have the water would be in. What's it called, Carol?
Is it a baptismal?
Yes. Yep. Where
One of them things. Yeah. Filled with water and stuff. Yeah. Can we
I call it
come inside
pond.
to refill this flask with water, holy water?
He pauses for a moment. He seems uncomfortable, and he says, "Give me a persuasion roll," is what the DM says. Because he definitely looks hesitant and caught unawares by the question. He's maybe a couple 10 paces from you.
Raring and racing to use inspiration here. I'm gonna keep that 15.
He wrings his hands and he looks nervously at the church and he says, and then he looks at Zarg and he says, "Certainly, if you will require holy water." So Zarg has some sort of holy symbol, I imagine, yeah? Because you've been prophesizing about.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly have Talos on my shield, on my chest, on my holy. So I mean, I don't know if you don't know who I worship. Then
endorsed by Talos.
Yes.
Surely the beard itself is a holy symbol.
Yeah, I make $20 every time someone looks at me because I advertise.
Yes. You get royalty every time someone says the name Talos. So he kind of wrings his hands a bit. He looks nervously back at the church and then back at you, and he almost looks imploringly at Ismark. Ismark says to you, Zarg, he says, "Remember, Zarg, you said you promised to get my sister safely here and back. Certainly you could come back after my sister is safely back in our mansion."
I look over at him. It's like, I have not left Irina's side, and
You
I
would-
will not.
right,
My
you-
friend Renard can handle this.
You see this kind of this almost like this is relief when Ismark says that on Father Donovic's,
And then it goes away.
and then it comes back. and he kind of like there's like that dry swallow, and he's like, "Yes, certainly, yes, come with me."
I think that George and Vernak wanted to see the font in this church as well.
Yeah, I think there'd be like glassy stares from Vernak and
they're
George.
they're
at
just
that.
lost.
Right?
I kind of say that more for Renard, like than not. Or maybe I actually look over my shoulder, like begrudgingly, like very quietly. I say, and maybe Callie.
I think Irina would kind of loop her arm into her brother's and say, "Ismark, I will be fine. It is only late morning. And I wish to make a prayer in front of the altar anyways."
Oh, so we are all gonna enter and drink from the font. I mean, grab some water from the font.
Yeah, so a very nervous Father Donovic leads your procession to the church, and it's at that moment, Zarg, that you notice kind of crouched at the entry to the graveyard is a smiling form of Zadara. And she looks at you and stands as you guys all approach, and she says, "You have been very busy." And that's, I think, where we'll end today's session. Well done, guys.
Oh, come on.
Oh wow.
I was gonna totally go in and dip my head in the bowl. And...
You totally
still
will
can.
have time, my friend, because that's
Still
going to be
can.
the opening part of next session.
We see him walk over. He because he's just been shoveling, so he goes over and takes his cloth.
She starts washing himself up.
Baydock hands him a bar of soap.
Oh, guys.
File the whole font, huh?
Thank you very much for playing, and if you're listening to this, please definitely keep listening because these guys are nuts. And have a good one.